Hey, surprise! Look who it is.
We're back.
Welcome back to the Noble Apartment Cup for Hera versus Viper. I mean, what a treat of a way to start out the day, right? Normally, we got to wait a couple sets.
That's the primetime set. And now we are the primetime set.
Let's go. And we're dressed for the occasion, the full black and white. Gotta love the compliment to each other. Do you think TheViper can do it, though? You talked about the demands of him in the set if he wants to shove Hera outside of the top two and take one of those spots himself. It requires 3-0, not just the win, but to do it in dominating fashion.
Well, it's early in the day. Viper usually likes playing early in the day. He came in today. He seemed like he had a lot of energy. Hera was sleeping on the couch. So maybe that's an indication of what we're in for here. But, I mean, even Viper, he was talking about it, and he said 3-0. The set win's doable, but 3-0 against Hera, I don't know about that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, I think it was the other day when we were watching Leary and Hera, I mentioned, there's a number of players, perhaps every single player in this tournament can take a map off of Hera, right? That wouldn't necessarily surprise me. There's only a few players that I think can take a set off of Hera.
And there's even fewer that can sweep him.
And that is exactly right. Yeah. And honestly, I'm not sure if I believe any player right now can sweep Hera in his current form in a best of 5 or greater. And so it will be a tall order, to say the least, here for the Viper. While I do think he is playing some very solid Age of Empires at this tournament.
Yeah, Viper, I mean, the maps kind of suit him in a way, right? Yeah. We've seen it, more defensive play styles, longer games. Viper's a very strategic player. He's going to play into that. But then, having said that, yesterday, the Bedouins game against Winchester, I mean, he picked Gajaris and then he just pushed himself into Winchester's base. He wasn't booming up behind it or anything. He came up with a strategy that completely nullified everything Winchester was doing, and it was an aggressive, fast castle type of strategy. So Viper still got those tricks available to him, and now he's got, everyone around him, his teammates, the casters, although I don't think he's taking much information from us, but it's a big think tank.
No, we like to throw our ideas out there. Yeah. Whether they're ever entertained is to be...
Yeah, usually the response is, oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
It is always fun to be on the couch, and you're like on the outside of a conversation between 3 of the pros talking about, what could I have done to end that game? And then you're like, well, I thought maybe this would be, and they're like, yeah.
Okay, Dash.
That's an idea. Okay, sure, why not? Either way, we got to talk about the civs and the maps that these players will be jumping onto for this best of 5. We're kicking things off on Citadel. For the Viper, home maps are going to be Tiergarten and Enclosed. Over there on the side of Hera, we're going to see High Tides and Arabia.
Viper's civ draft is interesting. I mean, he's got Portuguese, he's got Japanese Dravidians. We saw him play Dravidians on Citadel, although he couldn't pull off the win there. Enclosed is a really, really strong map for Viper. It's a very technical map, and it's something that he's done perfectly in the past with a civ like Chinese. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have Chinese over on his side. I'm actually surprised that they got banned out by Hera. That makes sense. Yeah. I was looking for him. I couldn't find him for a minute.
Yeah, you mentioned the Enclosed. In a way, Tiergarten is a similar map. Obviously, they have some small differences, but again, just the TC positioning, having to swing around the outsides in most cases to find your damage early on, unless you're really going to dedicate time to chopping and maybe dropping a tower offensively. I think it does, in a way, play into the Viper's strengths, but of course, we'll have to see what civs go there. Citadel, I think, is a really interesting one to kick off on, because I think there's actually no better player on this map than Leary at this tournament.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering who's going to start emulating his approach to that map specifically faster, right? And with him, it's usually that very safe back dock going into a galley war, but just enough of a galley war to focus on the economy and race to the Imperial Age. It's always getting to Imperial Age quick, one forward castle, treb push to kill.
Yeah.
And I don't know which of these players, if any, today is going to say, you know what, it's time to steal a strategy from somebody else. The metas are starting to get defined on some of these maps more than others.
Yeah, and I think that's a very Leary strat, right, as we have 5 seconds coming in. I'm not sure Viper can do it, but he's not really comfortable usually doing that sort of push. And we'll see as we load up Citadel. Viper is going to go for... What civ is that? See, these are one of the ones I get confused with. Hera's got the Lithuanians. We know that. This could be the
Japanese.
Japanese. Yeah, it could be the Japanese, Burmese, or Malay.
Okay.
I'm absolutely awful with the icons, man, even to this day.
So, but how about this? When I think about a Civ that wouldn't mind going for, again, a nice little dedication to fish early on, maybe contest the water, have a decent fish economy to aid in, a faster Imperial Age, and then Japanese trebuchets, right? I think that could be a pretty good setup. We do, of course, have a game pause here. We can see the players typing, so perhaps recognizing a map bug. I'm not seeing it right off the bat myself, so I'm not going to hypothesize too much for what it could be. Of course, we'll have the admins take a look as quickly as possible, and if there is a need for a remake, that will be executed in good order.
I see one of them with... Okay, we're good. We're good.
Beautiful. We just have an unruly deer here for Hera, taking the long way around the wood line.
I mean, deer nowadays, ever since they pushed that update, have been kind of annoying behind big wood lines. They're good around the small resources, which is what they fixed, but around big wood lines, they can get stuck. Hera's going to figure it out, though. He's going to bring that over to the town center. So with this Civ matchup, Lithuanians against Japanese, obviously the Japanese fish are going to be harder to kill, but the Lithuanians will have a little bit of a faster start with the 100 food in the bank. Still, that villager from Hera is out there, and she's exposed, and this villager's going to go down. I don't think Viper ever lets this get away. Viper will start out with a villager kill and deny the dock from Hera as Hera tries to wall this in. He's bringing the scout over. He saves it! He saves it against the Viper. How on earth? And now Viper gets it over the wall. Oh, man. What a brutal situation there as Viper manages to snipe that villager over the diagonal wall.
Man, that scout earning his keep for the Viper today with the extended swipe for the final hit onto the Vil. Goes down, a beautiful snipe to be found. Not just losing the villager, but delaying the dock timing as well. Viper's still aware of where that dock is going to go. I'm almost surprised now that Hera's still going for a forward dock because I feel like you're just inviting more and more pressure.
I think he's committed his build to it regardless, right? And it's not going to slow down his feudal age time, really, because he's Lithuanians. He had that extra food. He was prioritizing getting food under the TC so he could go up quick. It's just going to take away from the amount of fishing ships, probably 2 less when he gets to the feudal age. So his eco in feudal is going to really struggle because of that.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the economy numbers.
And he's idling his TC to go up.
Yeah, there you have it. 500 food in the bank. He gets the click, but it's 17 to 21 in economy between these two players. Yes, Viper will still be slower to the feudal age. Now with his loom coming in, he'll get the resources he needs, and he'll click up. But things are looking good for the Snake at the start of the day.
Yeah, Viper will have the tankier fishing ships, so he can play around that a little bit. I think that they will go for galleys still, but this is a close enough dock position where you can make an argument, I think, to go fire galleys early. And maybe if Viper is going for that barracks super quickly, he will play into the fire galleys instead, just because it's easier to manage the land pressure and the water pressure at the same time as the villagers engage. And Hera's scout has a lot more HP. Viper just has to get home before Hera gets the feudal age.
Yeah, this is the advantage, in a way, of having traded out the villager.
Where's the Vil from Hera going?
Health. I don't know.
Is that going past? Is Hera going to play fire galleys from either side of Viper's dock?
Just pull 2 or 3 Vils now on Viper's
He doesn't know
side,
where it is, though. He doesn't know where it is, and that's a long way away. Look, Viper's looking for it. He's like, I know that villager went somewhere. Where did it go? The villager's still out of sight, and Hera's going to go right past where Viper's scout was. Viper was just making sure the villager didn't continue along the shoreline. He didn't go far enough. He is, however, making the militia, and now Hera spots that with some great scouting of his own.
Yeah, and just as he hits the feudal age, he'll look to delay those militia coming forward and rather track them just so he's not surprised on one of his wood lines. We do have the eco upgrades coming in. Feudal age about to be reached here for the Viper, but crucially, Dave hasn't scouted out the position of that dock while he is continuing along the shoreline, so still has a 6th sense that he needs to find it.
Ooh.
What?
Viper lamed. Viper lamed the boar. And that's going to kind of hurt Hera because he didn't have the fishing ships earlier, right? So his food count is really, really rough right now. Hera's coming around with some villagers. He's walling in this villager. You can still walk over the boar, but the villager is stuck here. Viper can't get out of this one, and he's just going to take the 1v1 still. He's lamed the food from the boar. Hera is delayed. I'm not certain that he's going to continue to be able to make villagers. And now the militia show up at the gold. This is a lot of aggression from Viper really, really early.
Yeah, militia on the gold with man-at-arms just about to complete. Probably not finding a villager kill here, but very much delaying the amount of gold that Hera can bring in. That's
a dead
actually,
Vil.
I say that, and there goes a dead Vil. Takes the fight right as the militia or the man-at-arms upgrade comes in, and it's another snipe here for the Viper.
I think Viper will have his eye on that boar placement too, because he knows there's a really weak Vil there, so maybe he can loop around the scout and get the final hit. Really, really tough now that he has a weak scout, and that villager appears to have gotten home safe and sound as Viper continues the pressure here. Hera still, I think, without any production buildings on land, he's just now adding in the barracks of his own, and Viper already going into a range behind, still with 3 fishing ships alive. This is an excellent start for Viper.
Yeah, in a way, with the 1 dock, a concession of the water, but by pushing Hera off of the gold so early on, the production hasn't quite been there.
Yeah, so he can catch up.
Yeah.
And he's got Japanese fishing ships. They tank so much damage. Hera still hasn't even gotten one. So the men-at-arms working away on the wood line. Hera with a little bit of idle TC as well because the boar was lame. The food wasn't coming in from the fish as quickly as he would have liked, and things are just not going according to plan. Still, it's Hera, and now Viper's house. So Hera is alive in this match despite the early advantage from Viper. He still has potential, and now he's dropping the archer range.
Yeah, Hera, one of the few players that I'll never say is dead until he himself calls the GG. We do have Viper just forcing the reactions, forcing the repairs here around the wood lines. Now he's going to rotate the man-at-arms away, make as much use of this early feudal age unit as he can, while their value will decrease over time. Looking to see if at any point the Viper will reach for a second dock, because as time goes on, he can get overwhelmed by the 2 dock production. We still see the numbers very much in favor of Hera there. Of course, we have archers on land here for the Viper. No fletching yet. Skirms now in the queue as the response here for Hera.
Yeah, and even like getting up the blacksmith is just a pain for Hera. He's got a quick wall of the villagers. Here come the archers. That scout's going to get taken out by the archers. So Hera can't save him, and it's just 1 skirmisher from Hera against 2 archers here from Viper. That's a weak villager on the blacksmith. Viper might be able to deny the blacksmith. The blacksmith does come up, but this villager might die.
Yeah, the villager looks to go down. The skirmisher is chasing, but now the men-at-arms have a very solid target for themselves as the archers move into the minimum range. This is pretty gross. We do get 1 snipe there onto the archers. Another one still alive. And once again, Hera's pushed off of gold.
Hera's pushed off of gold. He did kill the fish from Viper, though. He had the fire working away, and he eventually killed the Japanese fishing ships from Viper. That fire is looping back across to the fish from Hera, and now the wood line might be cut through pretty soon, and there's an archer at the back. I mean, this is just a really, really painful game here for Hera so far, as Viper using that excess food that he's had in the bank to make some scouts to counter this skirmishers. Viper is 1 step ahead this entire time. This is going to be a really, really tough defense here from Hera going forward.
And now he himself has moved on to attacking Hera's fish. You can see he feels comfortable enough to add another Japanese fishing ship of his own. That scouts out onto the field. These men-at-arms that I said lose value over time actually still hold great value against skirmishers alone in terms of playing a front line to this singular archer around the woodlines.
I think the value in them now is just forcing all the army from Hera back to this side. And then you can show up with the scouts as soon as they're far away from the TC. Now, Viper didn't know about this dock because remember the scout couldn't follow that. He's going to be like, hang on a second, why are there fire galleys over there? At the same time, he's going to be like, hang on a second, there's some exposed villagers on this gold. I really wish I had fletching right now, as Hera traps in the archers on the gold, and he's got the skirmishers to clear them up. Great trap there from Hera with those villagers, with those palisade walls, and bye-bye archers from Viper.
What a move by Hera here to kind of give himself a chance back in this one. We look at the score at the top of the screen, and you see that the eco numbers are equalized. Of course, all of that's Vils for Viper. It's Vils and fishing ships here for Hera. But yep, the man-at-arms swing back in. They're going to make the skirmishers rotate. The scout now here to deal with those skirmishers makes it a lot harder for Hera to find the solution, producing a couple spears now as we speak. Fletching finally on the way here for the Viper. This is where he could truly find some damage if the Vils aren't brought home in good order.
Yeah, and I think Hera really caught off guard by those scouts. Really, really caught off guard. It makes life so difficult for him. He's doing the right thing. He's coming in with the skirmishers and sniping the archers, and he does get them, but the scouts take out a skirmisher, and they're still harassing the villagers. Plenty of idle time here for Hera as more scouts come in, and look at the resources from Viper. 600 food in the bank, 400 gold in the bank, and resources collected almost 1,000 ahead. That's insane at this stage of the game.
Yeah, that's a massive advantage.
Oh, Hera saving those fire galleys is crazy.
Oh, is he though?
Oh, Viper gets them both.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Micro in the 1v3 to snipe 2 and trade out in the 1 for 2. Through all of this, Viper has almost completed his walls across the front part of his base. Maybe still looking to have a market drop to use some of that gold, balance the eco. Either way,
where did Hera get that food from? Did he have Vils in the queue? He must have. He just went from like 50 food to 680.
Well, and so classically Hera, right?
That's insane.
He's got 14 farms.
Yeah.
Through all of this. They aren't horse collar farms, so that could come back to hurt him a little bit once those farms expire. And it does look like another sword will find purchase onto a villager and ultimately bring it down. Man-at-Arms dies to the town center there of Hera, but the Viper is on the way up to the Castle Age. Hera, I believe, has it queued behind this 40th villager.
Man, I can't believe that Hera's actually up at a reasonable time here.
Crazy.
I can't believe he's up at a reasonable time. The fish have obviously helped out a little bit, but still, when you look at the res collected, 1,000 ahead for Viper, right? Hera has somehow managed to defend with a few skirmishers, with a few quick walls, with a few spearmen as well. And Viper, while he still has the advantage, I think is going to be a little bit stunned that Hera is capable of even being in this position right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now fletching just 5 seconds away from completing, but archers being chased away by skirms. Scouts are there, could turn around and buy the space for the archers to get away. The Viper finding and killing that villager. That's actually pretty important for the long run, I think. Back there in the back of his base means no more docks can come up, means no more repairs there, or any sneak land military, which we know that Hera could use.
Oh, we got through with the scouts.
Got through with the 3 scouts, though, just before the walls come down, and there's a villager making their way out to the shoreline now. Will the Viper see it? Yes, he will, and I think that's another easy snipe.
Yeah, that's another dead vill as Viper continues to chase the fishing ship, and our little screen down there with his fire, so he's going to clear that up. He's going to take out the fish from Hera, and still scouts in the back roaming around. Hera clearly wanted to keep these units out of his base. He was prioritizing that wall with 2 villagers. Didn't get it complete, and now that's kind of painful for him. Meanwhile, Cav archers on the way from Viper with the with the Japanese. What is the counter to that going to be from Hera? Does he just continue to play into skirmishers? He's got a lot of resources.
I mean, Lithuanian skirms, that's a pretty solid unit right there, and one that you're kind of happy to play into because you already have a decent number of them, and that's exactly what Hera will do as he reaches the Castle Age investment into Bowsaw, Elite Skirm, and Bodkin Arrow. But while he has to dedicate all of his resources to countering the unit comp of the Viper has managed to drop down a second TC back at home. So he's going to look to take the advantage he's built in the early game, extend that advantage through Castle, and then possibly look for the killing blow as he reaches up to the Imperial Age.
Yeah, now Viper going for a dock over on the side there, where Hera's dock was. So Hera's going to spot that with the random fishing ship that's still alive, but maybe Viper interested in getting a fish boom of his own back onto the water as they both now go for the cavalry armor, and both of them teching into knights. Viper's still ahead in this game, both in economy and res collected. Also, he's had the majority of the pressure, but now with Elite Skirm, he can't really do too much with these Cav archers. Hera's got the walls on either side. He's chasing down these CA. Viper's forced to open a wall to get those CA back inside, and it looks like he's actually attacking with the scouts at the same time.
Yeah, definitely difficult for the Cav to play into the skirmishers, but that's why we do see the Knights coming
Hera
out
doesn't
onto
see
the
it.
field. Ooh, these
That's
are
2
big
vills,
here.
maybe?
One spear arrives, though, to the scene, actually sitting on no attack stance or stand ground, and so doesn't find any pokes onto the scouts, but ultimately the scouts will retreat away after finding 1 vill kill. I think the big thing here, again, is just to watch those eco numbers continue to spread apart. as the Viper is producing out of 2 TCs and even wrestling control of the water back, or at least attempting to do so. All the scouts going down in this moment. Hera will be very happy to have removed that threat from the back of his base, now feeling comfortable finally moving to his second town center.
Yeah, and Viper dropping a monastery. I think there's 7 relics on this map, so with Lithuanians, I think you'd be happy to get at least 3, right? 4 would be ideal. Viper's going to try and get them all because he's Viper, but now Hera, for the first time, it feels like in this game, and I think it literally is the first time, he's on Viper's side of the map with some land military as Viper is forced to retreat the Knights, and that's a lot of skirmishers there. That is a big force. Ooh. Viper will drop a defensive TC. The skirms won't be able to kill the villagers too quickly with the Knights roaming around, but Viper is in as well with the Cav Archers on the other side. Double raids here. We've got Hera pressuring the town center. We've got Viper running underneath the town center looking for villager picks, and he doesn't really have that much respect for the TC fires. He just goes right through. He's going to go from woodline to woodline looking for villagers. Hera just now snipes his first, and now second, and now third.
Wow. I mean, honestly, a phenomenal trade here for Hera when he needs to find some damage. Of course, the TC at home going up just in time. Monk is going to get sniped as it attempts to jump inside the TC, so it's Knights for the Viper versus Knights and Skirms here for Hera. Now back at home, Hera is taking a bit of punishment on that gold once again. A couple of Skirms and Knights in response, looking for the trades to complete on both sides. It looks like the Viper will finally clean up this raid in the back of his base and can focus on the damage he's looking to deal on Hera's side of the map.
Great first game here. Great first game. Back and forth. Viper's had the edge through most of it. I think he still does as you look at the eco numbers. 58 eco units versus 46 from Hera. He's got the Cav Archers in the back. Hera no longer with an army in the back of Viper's base. So Viper is just purely focused forward. Hera focused at the back and then trying to find some damage against Viper however he can. I don't think it's going to be really possible, though, because the walls are there and the Knights are still coming out from Viper.
Yeah, and already such a massive res collected differential, right? 2.6K in favor of the Viper here on the Japanese. And as we think about the way that these two civs develop into the late game, you know, Lithuanians classically a Cav-focused civ, yes, with some strong trash. I think of the Japanese playing into Cav, and that feels like a dream situation.
Well, I mean, I think Lithuanians are have a better tech tree, right? In the late game?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. In the late game, yeah, for sure. Right now, I think it's a far smoother and easier game for Viper.
Yeah,
100%.
And so here we have the skirmishers still responding to the Cav Archers and whittling the numbers down. As these numbers drop, it will be more difficult for the Viper to actually threaten any of these villagers who are remaining on open wood lines. We still see a little bit of dancing in the center of the map. I think the monks are going to be very relevant going forward here with the number of knights that each players have, right? It's only 3 to 5 knights, and therefore finding a single conversion can absolutely sway the tides of any battle. Plus, we're looking for relic control. Nobody finding a relic just yet.
How close does Viper get to this knight before he starts converting? Does he go just onto the other side of the lumber camp? It's a respectful distance. It's a respectful distance. He doesn't want to get screwed over by the conversion rate, as the Cav Archers maybe could find some snipes on those villagers. There's a lot of weak ones in there. You could go in and kill 3 villagers with those weak CA as Viper now makes his way to the center. I believe Hera's sending some forces to the center of that Citadel, though, kind of sensing at the same time. It's like they both sense that now is the moment for them to push out. Hera pushes out with military, Viper goes with villagers, and Hera's going to spread out and look for where Viper is trying to build up.
The timing on this is crazy. I mean, even Viper having a little bit of a sixth sense.
Not paying attention.
The outpost. He sees it now, though. He's going to dive in. This is a ton of dead villagers. 2 looking to be converted, the rest looking to go down. I mean, this could be a small equalization play. I don't want to oversell it. The Viper is still very far ahead in the eco, but if anything, this was a massive find here from Hera, also beating the Viper to the center relics, which is why each of these monks were coming out here.
Yeah, Hera gives him 2 conversions, though. So I'm not certain that that's worth it at the end of the day. Now Hera comes out and Viper pulls the Uno reverse here, and Hera's just trying to bring those relics as far away as possible. That's actually such a smart play.
Into the water.
That's such a smart play. He knows he's going to lose the monks, but he's like, I know you want these, and I'm going to bring these as far away from you as possible. That's so funny, man. Great play from Hera there. And great play from Viper to bring the army back, to know that Hera's probably going to follow that up with villagers. He takes out those ones. 88 vills for Viper, 67 eco units here for Hera. Viper's still ahead, but Hera is somehow just finding damage even with that super rough start and is forced to delete the other two knights. He's going to be forced to delete these ones maybe, but he backs away in time.
Yeah, it's a minor thing, but I would love to see the walls completed at some point just to prevent any crazy raids from coming in. This is phenomenal, though, from the Viper. I think he feels like he's fully in control of this game.
Dude,
very aware.
Both players keeping their walls open so they can keep reinforcements coming through, but both players are getting punished for that because units just keep streaming through those holes. You feel like a gate would be a huge investment here for both of these guys, as Hera's had to deal with this multiple times. Viper's had to deal with this stuff multiple times from the same holes right next to the water.
Yeah, we're losing cav archers to the skirms. Yes, we have scouts on the field to help wipe those skirms up, but the monks can't do a ton except for look for some lucky conversions before they get sniped away by those elite skirmishers. In the end, the Viper will be able to clean this up, but I don't think it's in a numbers trade that he's necessarily going to be happy with. Really spamming out the scouts of all things.
Yeah, I'm not certain how, what sort of eco comparison he thinks there is in this game. We can see the numbers.
Right.
We can see that he's 30 ahead, and he knows how many he's killed, but it is Hera at the end of the day, and a lot of times Hera is very, very competitive with the villager number despite the losses. So Viper might feel like he's further or not as far ahead as he actually is.
The Viper just needs to plop a tent down next to that gold because he's been camping it all game and making it difficult for Hera to ever really get a solid stream of gold income coming in. Now, of course, the food count, I think, is the most relevant part of this matchup as we look towards one player trying to end it, and that's where the Viper has a lead. 34 on food with a little bit more in the bank. 1,000 floating wood on the side of Hera. Again, just yesterday I was saying he's one of the few players where I never see a large amount of floating wood.
He's distracted.
And it speaks to the fact that he's being, his attention, rather, is being pulled all around the map right now. He doesn't have the luxury of focusing solely on his economy, and as I say that, all of that wood will be
just evaporates. Absolutely evaporates, right? Ballistics, farms, extra stables, everything. Viper, though, going for the first castle, and it's going to be in the center of the map, as Viper now has 2 relics. He's looking to get some more. He's guarding the relic in the north of Hera's base, and he's used the mobility beautifully of the knights, of the cav archers. He looks like he's also angling towards the Imperial Age really, really soon as Hera tries to come out with villagers here. Viper's got the light cav, Viper's got the monks, Viper's got the cav archers. I mean, it's going to be difficult for Hera to do whatever he wants to do. I'm assuming he wants a forward castle. Viper will stall this out for a very long time.
He most definitely wants a forward castle, 800 stone in the bank, but through all of this, the Viper has moved to the Citadel, dropping a castle of his own. We can see all the flashing lights in Hera's eco, so the raids are coming through.
That's not an ideal castle.
No, you get forced into, honestly, a more defensive castle as the player who's behind. This is where you'd want to be dealing damage. And the Viper will be the first to click up to the Imperial Age.
Yeah, and Viper goes for a great TC in the center there. He's got wood, he's got the hunt, he's got the gold, the stone. And wow, the cav archers are still just sitting here from Viper as he completes his eco upgrades. Second farm upgrade on the way. He already has handcart, wheelbarrow not even in for Hera, right? He's been under so much pressure, and it's incredible. He's even still alive in this game, and he's at 80 villagers in this game, but he's going to miss out on the imp timing. He's still going to be raided in the back. The castle is not as forward as he might have liked against Viper, so he's not really applying pressure. And Viper's got all day to make these tech switches. He still hasn't walled that area next to the dock. How many times do they need to come in before you learn to just wall it off? You could have saved yourself so many headaches.
Yeah, I think Hera knows it too. I don't think you invest in husbandry and wheelbarrow here if you want to ever make it to the Imperial Age at this point. So probably with the game sense that Hera has, thinks, okay, you know what? It's now or never. I need to increase my military production, make sure it's as strong as possible. and hit the Viper before he can take advantage of the better techs that he'll be able to bring in once he reaches the Imperial Age.
Yeah, it's going to be a bad feeling for Hera when he sees that timing come in, because if he stalls out everything, he could probably click Imp in a couple minutes, but you don't really want to stall that out. You want to keep the villagers coming. You want to keep the army there to keep Viper at a respectful distance and protect your castle somewhat. And you also need army to deal with those extremely annoying cav archers that have just been running around in the back of your economy, as Viper simply adds more of them. He adds more light cav in front, and the food and gold count for him is going to be looking solid as he hits the Imperial Age. Second castle coming up, and almost enough stone for a third.
Yeah, almost enough stone for a third. Bracer will be the first click,
GG.
and it's the Imp timing that does it for Hera. He feels confident in tapping out that there was no option for victory for him in that one, and so there you have it. The Viper will take an early lead on Citadel, 1-0 in the set, and keeping the dream scenario of a 3-0 and securing a top spot while knocking Hera down outside of the top two in a first round bye.
I mean, Hera should have... there's a lot of things early that kind of pushed him back, right? The boar lane, which we didn't see what the exact timing on it was, but I mean, it was an insane effort from Viper because it denied so much food from him. The villager lane at the beginning, I know he got the hits over the diagonal wall, but I think you can make an argument Hera should have probably walled that villager before he started making the dock, right? As Viper went up for that really, really early. And then the men-at-arms just roaming around, and Hera was so late to the range because of the other economic problems he was having. Very good pressure from Viper.
I think those first 2 points you make, though, are the most important because they both result in food deficits.
Yes.
Right? And so, okay, maybe I can suffer a boar lane if I've got my fish out working at the same time as my opponent. And vice versa. Maybe I can suffer losing my my Dockville if I'm able to secure my second boar. I feel like Hera is the kind of player who can adapt to losing one of those two things and still make it work. But all of a sudden, it becomes a near impossibility to recover from that situation. We saw him try, right? I think, again, it speaks to his creativity that he decides, okay, one of the ways I can do it is by sending this outrageously confident Vil to the back of Viper's base, try to surround you on water.
That's just knowing the build as well, right? That's just knowing the build, that you can get away with that because Hera won't have taken that earlier. I'm actually surprised that boar was still out there.
Same.
Anyway, we're going to take a short break before we get into game number 2 here, Hera versus the Viper.
And now, a word from our partners.
Look, you know how exhausting it is to control all our fine electronics at home? Well, I think I found the perfect solution. Elmo, come here. Come here, boy. Sit. Catch. That's a good boy. You're fine. Sit. More. Couch lamp. On up. It's a good boy. Come here. You're fine. Elmo. Couch light 2. On. Good boy. Elmo. Couch light 1. Off. Couch light 1. Off.
Maybe it's time to try something smarter.
Say hello to smarter lighting. Hammer Smart Lights bring voice control, energy efficiency, and 16 million vibrant colors right to your fingertips.
Oh my, what a terrific alternative.
More smart, more home. Hammer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Noble Apartment Cup, where we have the Viper up 1-0 in his best-of-5 set against Hera to close out the group stage. I want to take another quick look at the map and Civ draft, though, because there's still a lot on the table, of
Yes.
course, and it's Hera who finds himself in a situation he doesn't often, right? He rarely loses maps, so he rarely is the one who has to decide where to go next, and he does have 4 maps to choose from. Again, it's important to note he doesn't have to go to one of his own home maps, and actually, he's one of the players who most frequently does go to opponents' home maps, and I think that speaks to his comfortability anywhere within the tournament settings.
I think it's a fairly savvy move, especially when you're really, really confident, right? Because then you have the thought process where, like, if I lose those maps, at least I have mine coming home to win the set, if you're only interested in winning the set and not the specific game. So we'll see if Hera goes to one of Viper's home maps here. We're actually going to go to High Tide, and it's going to be Viper playing as the Huns and Hera playing as the Persians.
Okay, so the Persians, obviously a lovely civ for hybrid maps. Those docks having extra HP means it's almost impossible to ever push them fully off of water. But of course, the Huns should not be ignored in their versatility, as in the end, this map ultimately is decided on land.
I think the only other time we saw Huns in this map was actually Hart playing against Yo. And he was up against the Lithuanians, which are a much harder counter, I believe, than the Persians in the late game to the Huns. So I think the Huns have better opportunities here. Let's see if villagers get lamed. Hera has killed multiple villagers going out for docks early on this map. I don't see a villager going out from Viper yet. And there it is right there. Okay, making its way to the north. Hera sending his own villager. And the Persians start with a little bit of extra resources so you can get that dock up really, really quick. No contest.
What do you make of that dock positioning, though? That's a little strange.
They don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
I think this dock screams, if a scout comes along, I can wall my villager. I don't want to go out to the gold and potentially have to mess around with a scout and a villager from my opponent.
Neither player having invested in Loom just yet, and the Viper probably acutely aware of what you mentioned, which is that Hera has normally looked to snipe that early Dockville on this map. So the docks come down for each player. The scouting
and Viper just leaves.
Through. Wow.
Viper just leaves. He puts the dock up and he says, yeah, no, I'm not hanging around there with this villager. I'm just going to leave. I'm not going to fish and risk the idea of it being killed. And he's going to come home.
Okay. There you have it. Loom on the way here for Hera already.
Good scouting from Hera. A lot of people, I think, few of the players here, but a lot of them in the qualifiers would have just scouted the gold area and assumed there was no dock. He goes all the way over there.
Yeah, and even goes there first over the gold area. So not going to be surprised by Viper's dock positioning. Now Viper going for the much safer dock, as he'll be the second one to the feudal age. And again, the Persians are probably favored there in the water battle over the long term. So I think the question becomes whether or not Viper really wants to put much of a fight up, given the fact that he's already brought his villager back, right? There's no second dock coming up to contest.
I mean, yeah, no plans for a second dock at all, and Hera will know that because he didn't see the villager either.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it might be a mind game from Viper, you know, take the villager away so Hera assumes you're only going to go one dock and then you send another villager later, but I would assume that Viper, I know, Viper is going to go for some sort of land pressure here.
Yeah, but I don't.
Make sense.
Hera will know that, right? Because as you said, you don't see that Dockville, so you know immediately with no extra dock coming up, there will be enough wood in the bank to drop the barracks. The Ville comes out for it now. Now Hera already moved past that area. But now looping back around. Okay, he'll get that confirmation of what he could already expect.
Yeah, he didn't see a second dock. He didn't see a mill. Like he's looking for that barracks, and now Viper will see the villagers on gold from Hera. He sees 3 on gold, so he's probably assumes that that's going to be a galley opening from Hera. It's going to be fires. Okay, so just a few fires.
I like this, though. Just one. I don't think you go over 1 fire galley right now.
I think you got to make at least 2. Because 1 dock from Viper, if he positions his fire correctly, he could win the 1v1. As Hera tries to snipe the sheep from Viper, and Viper just kills it with the villager. He can still take the resources, and he gets the scout because Hera was getting awfully greedy trying to snipe that low HP villager. Beautiful job there from Viper.
And Dave, as Viper moves towards very clear land aggression, you are now without a scout. And so you had seen that barracks, but you don't necessarily know from which angle the land aggression is going to come now. That could ultimately come back to bite Hera in the end as
it's a
Viper
full
scout.
HP
Full
scout.
HP, exactly.
It's a full HP scout. So if you open archers here, Hera goes into skirmishers, that scout is going to have a ton of value. So that's really, really not a great start there for Hera as Viper goes for one fire galley. He can run around with the fishes until that's out, and Viper's actually going to open with scouts here. Hera has no information on that just yet. He might see the second one coming into his base, and he knows that the first one should be on the other side, so maybe he gets a good information. That's actually a spearman and not the scout.
Yeah, spearman for information on the gold. His first scout, starting scout, is in the back of Hera's base. I will say that Hera's base seems decently set up for some solid walling. We can already see the northern side of his map is getting fully walled off. Yeah. Exactly.
Viper, though, looking for those walling villagers with that starting scout. He's got that one up north. He's got the other one prowling around in the back of Hera's base, and now they're all going to meet up as Hera attempts to go for those big walls you were talking about.
Yeah, 3's the magic number there with scouts, where they really start to become threatening to the villagers left alone and to their own devices. Unfortunately, gets the quick wall up. So one of the villagers was like, wait a second, let me get into the wood line. Walling towards the TC, good damage comes through here from the arrows, but we still have an opening. He's trying to bait Viper in so that the spear can arrive just in time. Now targeting the walling vills, get pushed away just before the wall's complete. I mean, and Hera has dealt with this pressure very, very well.
Yeah, and he's got Persian Eco. He's got the fish, he's got the TC that produces faster, so Hera is just going to sit behind his walls, and he's going to know that he probably has the better economy behind this. Still, he has to pay respects to the scouts and probably Archer follow-up here from Viper, because that can break through the walls quite quickly if you're not paying attention. I loved on that wood line, Viper had no intention of going in there.
Right.
With 3 scouts. Like, against 5 villagers, Hera can wall him off, he can kill him. But he was still trying to bait Hera into some idle time with the villagers. So that was an interesting engagement. Neither one of them bit on either of the dishes offered there as Viper comes into the gold, and the gold is very exposed on this side. However, Hera has archers. He can eject on the other side and potentially chase Viper away.
Yeah, the gold is exposed, and for now, Hera will be pushed off of it. But also, this archery range placed in a position where Viper's getting downhill hits. 4 scouts,
actually
downhill
damage,
hits.
yeah.
Yeah, it's already near half health. Going to force out either a tower. Okay, that's quite the investment here from Hera, but he just desperately does not want to lose access to this gold.
And it's not a great tower either. Like, it doesn't fully protect the gold in some ways. I mean, Viper's getting fletching as well. He's trying to range those villagers. He can kind of find picks at them, but now the archers come out from Hera, and that archer range is saved. Hera can now safely go to the gold, but he's got other areas to worry about, and he doesn't have enough stone now for a defensive tower. So if Viper gets in, Hera might have some problems against an equal number of archers and the scouts.
Yeah, and while things have looked decent here for the Viper, in terms of the pressure that he's applying, we can't forget that he hasn't managed to kill a single eco unit. And Hera feels comfortable enough on water that he's already gone up to 6 fishing ships.
And he's
continuing
Persians.
the walling, and he's Persians, right? And so unless Viper gets some damage in here in the next few minutes, Hera's off to the races.
Yeah, but we saw double range for Viper. Double range. And Hera doesn't have the scout. So Hera can't see that he's double range. Hera doesn't know that Viper's production is going to really scale above his. Hera might actually let him in once he has enough archers or spearmen because he's confident he can defend it, and Viper might surprise him at that point. Right now, Hera still seems interested in just walling up behind with the houses, but the archers have fletching, and Viper is still picking away at those villagers. It looks like, though, Hera is going to be safe for the time being, and Viper's going to have to look for another angle to try and push in. Look at him build these archers. He wants to hide the fact that he's on double range.
Yeah, he's got a group of them sitting there in the center of the map, not yet grouping him up with the rest of his remaining archers. Looks to do that now as he's hitting kind of that crucial double-digit mark where he can start to, really punish any villagers.
This is going to be surprising. Like, Hera expects maybe 2 or 3 more archers to show up, not 6. Like, this is going to be a real surprise for Hera when these numbers get here. He's fine. He's got the tower there.
Yeah, but I was at that moment with no spears around, you could have seen those scouts choosing to dive in instead. Viper's going to loop around to the north, maybe work on the walls over in that direction. Still putting up a little bit of a fight here on water and forcing the repairs out and the continued fire galley production here from Hera, not wanting to lose those 7 fish that he's invested into. But again, while the resources look decent for each player, it's going to be much better in the long run here for Hera, now sporting a 10+ eco advantage in numbers, and those are great snipes to find on those archers that still haven't found a way through the walls.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not certain about this water pressure, right? You kept Hera investing up here, but you haven't killed a singular fishing ship, I think. Yeah, Viper hasn't killed a single fishing ship from Hera. He's added extras, and it's distracting you from the land army. That's why he lost 2 of those archers, because he was busy, you know, screwing around on the water, and Hera clears it up anyway. So maybe it would have been better suited just going for the land pressure. He's finally going to snipe a villager. A lot of archers in that group. But, yeah, Hera has the lead for sure, and Hera is on the way to the Castle Age. Viper about to click up, and Viper's going to have a hefty group of archers to potentially upgrade to crossbows when he gets to Castle Age with the double range production.
Yeah, I actually like that move, though, splitting up the scouts and the archers, right? Saying, okay, you either have to respond to my scouts trying to get through your palisades, or you have to respond to my archers firing over your wood line. And 2 Vil kills have been found, so the first eco damage of the game that the Viper will be able to garner, while he had earlier lost those 2 fishing ships of his own. Hera, though, still the first one on the way to the Castle Age, has about a 30-second advantage there, so might be able to pump out a knight or 2 in defense against these archers. The question is whether or not he'll be aware of how big the numbers are for the Viper on reaching the castle.
I think Viper should probably go crossbow siege here. Hera can just keep playing into skirmishers or maybe crossbows of his own. I think it would be really bad for Hera to go cav archers like a lot of people do with Persians. Number 1, your cav archers are not the same as the Huns.
Yeah.
Like, they're way cheaper for the Huns. And number 2, there's a massive ball of potential crossbows running around there. It's going to be hard to get the numbers up to the point you want them to be.
Well, especially considering the only gold position for Hera is that one.
Yeah, and you
right?
really want to saturate your golds. Like, you look at the other secondary gold, it's in the south.
Yeah, that's difficult to get to.
Yeah, that's Viper's got archers down there. Like, he's still applying pressure to the gold in the middle from Hera, and then there's that secondary one, which is on our screen right now. I mean, it's just not a great setup in terms of golds for Hera. Ballistics, early, archers, upgraded to crossbows, bodkin arrow, skirmisher coming in.
Yeah, all the
Hera.
important upgrades to sustain these range unit production. I like this move from Hera to not go for the second TC immediately, right? Knowing that there's a potential for a lot of damage to come through if he doesn't invest into some military defense. Interestingly enough, as opposed to the Viper going for some kind of an all-in forward with a siege workshop or something like that, he will try to drop a second TC, loses 2 more villagers while doing so, but has crucially moved out to the southern side of the map.
Did Hera spot that mill is a question. Hera loses another villager, and Viper's about to break in. If he spotted that mill, he would investigate south. There's no other reason for the mill to be there, but Viper is in now with the crossbows. Ballistics and the +2 armor coming in for Hera skirmishers.
Yeah,
Viper needs to get knights over there to support this crossbow army, and Hera needs to get the crossbows back just in case the knights arrive. Hera realizes it's a threat. He sends his army back. That's kind of a win for Viper, forcing the army away from his base, but at the same time, how is he going to break ballistics +2 armor skirmishers?
Yeah, I'd say generally that's a great win just in terms of buying yourself time to catch up now with your 2 TC production while Hera's just going to his second TC. But you got to be careful here. Don't lose too many of your crossbows, but is going to look to trade out against a number of villagers looking to equalize. There's 3 down already.
Oh
4,
my goodness,
5,
Viper!
Looking for 6, 7. What can we get to? Can we hit double digits? 8, 9, and a 10th will...
Not go down yet. Not go down yet. She's still there. Viper, though, doesn't notice her. She's mixed up with a lot of other units. Viper sacrifices the entire army, but what a raid there. We look at the villager count. It's 48 for Viper, 39 for Hera. He's still got the 7 fishing ships, but Viper gets himself some good momentum there, although he does cost himself a huge army to do that. And we look at the military count from him now, 2.
Yeah, 2, and one of those being the Scorp that was just produced, and a Knight to boot. He is going for wheelbarrow, both players going for wheelbarrow at that. And I do love the move down to the south with a dock for extra food economy. Again, still not scouted by Hera, and I think Hera is now preoccupied with the idea that he needs to come forward, military advantage, and find some damage himself. 3rd TC going up in the back of the Viper's base. Don't know if Hera will get there in time to stop it. That's not a lot of Vils putting it up, so if the rotation is there, this could be disastrous here for the Viper. At the moment, though, Hera happy to just idle some farms. He's getting pushed away by the skirms, though, directly into the path of that TC. This could be awful timing here for the Viper.
Yeah, there's enough skirms. They have ballistics. They can snipe the villagers. Scorpions are not going to be there in time. They're just not fast enough. as they
So
will
much
push
for
this army
ballistics.
back further into his base, but he can't complete that third TC, and Hera is going to be adding the third TC of his own. So he's catching up on the villager count that Viper just killed. Viper will loop all the way around the wood line, go back towards that town center, and the Scorpions will be running cover for the third town center from Viper. I feel like the crossbow trades, the army trade that he made in that wood line, was more a result of him realizing he was kind of screwed in the back of Hera's base. And if he waited there, he was never getting that army out. He was never going to take a good engagement against ballistic skirmishers, and he just dove in and took whatever he could.
No, I think it was a really heads-up play, as well as saving all of those villagers, building that third TC. So each player up to that very typical number of a 3 TC boom, and eco units relatively similar. Again, the big advantage for Hera at this point is still in the military count and looking to take full advantage of that.
Yeah, and I don't think Hera suspects the Viper is south at all.
No.
He would have sent something there. He will eventually in a few minutes' time, but he doesn't need to because he's into the wood line now from Viper, and he's going to be taking a trade of his own, sniping the villagers, trying to dodge the Scorpion shots from Viper, as Viper dodges around ballistics as well. Great micro here from both players. Viper's going to chase this army away with the Knights. He limited the damage, but he still lost a lot of villagers, and the villager count is now even once again.
Yeah, the Viper, though, kind of feeling himself with the military control today. I've loved the look out of him, especially up against a player like Hera. You know, normally one that you'd kind of resign yourself to the fact that, you know, as good as my micro gets, it's always going to be one step behind his. But the Viper showing his stuff here, still very much in a deficit. No surprise there. You can take a look at the score on the right-hand side of your screen. 1,000-point differential. Sure, a lot of that is related to the fish control that Hera has and the 7 fishing ships that have been working for him this entire time. I do like the food count, though, there from the Viper, of course, making use of the fish at the southern side of the map. And now Hera finally taking an opportunity to scout down that direction. Will he get a peek at the dock, though?
Viper did build on the left side, and Hera will probably scout on the right side.
But if you see the mill, you come back and check.
Yeah, but you come back and check the right side. You don't check the left side. Like, unfortunately, Viper's trying to go for another dock here. Normally, I'd say, like, make a demo or something, but the demo I don't think is going to get any value whatsoever. I don't think it's getting any value.
No, not if you just take the hill on the land.
Yeah, you can one-shot a demo raft with those crossbows, and they're going to see it coming from a mile away.
Wow. The day in which
he
Dave
can
thinks
fit
the
the
demo
nice-
play is not the right one is a sad
No, you got to be
day
sneaky. You got to
in
be
Age of
sneaky and
Empires.
strategical with your demos. If you just send demos in face first, they're never going to do anything. You got to play mind games
We have
with them.
high standards for demo play here at the Noble Apartment Cup. Moreville snipes coming through here for Hera. This is a very vulnerable farming economy around the mill. The Vil dances come through, but still a couple will go down. The Scorps are now moving into position to respond. A nice little wall there from Hera. Oh my goodness, even one, possibly 2 conversions coming through on the scouts, and a TC going up in the north on those amazing gold positions here. That's going to secure long-term gold income for Hera. Things are looking good for our Persian player.
Yeah, now Hera is... Well, he's booming. He's got 39 on food right now, 28 on food for Viper. Viper starts to add in a few cav archers. Scorpions still can't catch up, but the Knights should be enough to clear these crossbows, and Hera's just coming back trying to get as much value as he can from those crossbows. Still hasn't discovered the stuff in the south. So Viper's still taking free food access there, but look at the res collected. Hera is ahead by about 4K resources, so that is a massive advantage. Part of that is the fish, and part of that is the fact that he's just had less idle time, more production from those Persian TCs, got the farms up quicker, and he's fully walled, so he has to worry about less areas of his base than Viper does, who is playing wide open.
Yeah, chain barding, just completed bloodlines on the way, and the production begins here on the Knights for Hera. We have Light Cav now trying to swing in for some raids here by the Viper, but the proximity of those TCs and the tower means not a ton of damage is going to be found, as well as ballistics on the TCs, right? Most of those Light Cav dying before they even find an opportunity to strike. And here we have a raid coming the other direction. Right as Bloodlines finishes with that +2 on the Knights. Ooh, the Skirmishers get found out in the middle of the map. An attempted conversion here on the Knight. Viper will pull that away. He'll look for the snipe with the Light Cav. Finds it. Great micro there.
Hera, I know you love farms, bro, but why are you farming there? As he's over-chopped on this side, and the Light Cav are getting some villager kills. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, 5 villager kills, 6 villager kills, probably 7. over here on the wood line, and Hera doesn't notice because he's busy trying to protect his farms on that side. Also coming in for a counterattack. That's a great raid from Hera onto the gold from the Viper. And the Viper, once again, will need to retreat. Once again, not walled at all for Viper. I know he's playing Hunts, but still, you need to have some respect for these Knights that are going to run in. It's a relatively cheap option to just toss down a few palisade walls on one side or the other. At least it gives you a little bit of warning before the Knights loop into your gold again.
Yeah, without a doubt, it would be nice to have that early warning system, but the Viper feels like the only thing that's relevant to him is the damage that he can deal, as he's been largely behind for the entire game. Looking to build up those Cav Archer numbers. He's got 7 in the queue and 16 on the field. Got to get to a critical mass, though, to deal with what is a very solid Knight composition, skirm composition here from Hera on the other side.
5 TCs with Persians. And somehow Viper's only 10 vills behind. So that's pretty solid, but Hera obviously has handcart. He's got the second wood upgrade, which Viper is missing. Viper's still controlling the area around that gold. That's been a constant pain point for Hera. He hasn't been able to wall up in front of that. And now the Cav Archer's looking for damage on the left side as Viper discovers the TC in the center. He's going to raid over there, but Hera's still being very annoying with the Knights. He's constantly hovering around Viper's base, preventing him from just sending all the army forward, forcing some of that back. And this is, I mean, this is another good game in this set. Viper is definitely behind here, but Huns are Huns. You can see the potential if he manages to snowball an army. The possibility is still there for a comeback from the Snake.
Yeah, the production of the Cav Archers and the resources required to do it is such a boon to the Viper's chances in this game. But no lie, it will be a difficult feat at that for him to overcome what is the incredible economy of the Persians, now up to 130 villagers, 61 on food, just like that. A moment ago, both players were sitting around that 35 mark, and then Hera finds his moment, drops a ton of farms, still using those 7 fishing ships to great effect, although soon to run out of fish there on the northern pond. Yeah, it's an incredible economy. He's insane. Finally found the southern expansion here from the Viper and will punish the vills that are left unprotected. We have this fight over the hill here. Looking good for the Viper overall in the trades, though. Cav Archers firing downhill, scouts and Knights looking to clean up the skirmishers, and then they can make quick work of the Knights as well. So Hera needs to be careful here not to become overconfident and get snowballed on through the middle.
It does kind of feel like Hera can keep producing these units forever. And he's sniping the Cav Archers one by one. Viper does have 4 ranges producing. He's got double stable Knight production, but the skirmishers are getting value behind this. And meanwhile, Hera is up to 137 villagers. You mentioned the amount on food, 57 on food, almost full upgrades here on the economy for Hera. It is looking amazing, and now he's controlling that also important hill in the center between these two economies.
Yep.
Viper will need to do something here to clear this army and then at the same time get some counter raids on Hera, which is going to be incredibly difficult because he can almost produce villagers faster than you're killing them.
It's overwhelming production speed right now here from Hera. Like you said, as quickly as things were dying, they were getting replaced, and the skirm numbers have been slowly building up the entire time. That adds an amazing layer of protection to the Knights. Here we have a raiding attempt by the Viper. It won't be a surprise, though, because of those fantastic outposts there on the northern side of the map here from Hera. So immediately responding sends Knights to the north, looking to push them away. No damage will be found here by the Viper.
Look at the units in production, and still he has the resources to go in. He just canceled a lot of them. He had 13 skirms in there, and now he's going to keep queuing up more Knights here, Hera. Viper has been stuck at 570 stone forever, it feels like. He couldn't get that castle up. In between, he has the stone now under threat, so he can't just get villagers back over there. And he's stuck producing units in the castle age. There normally is a risk where the person who goes in doesn't have the resources to continue production and will lose out. But Hera has now 19 Knights on the field, 18 skirmishers, and Viper realizes there's nothing he can do.
Yeah. Hera found his rhythm. He was in his comfort zone. The Viper recognizes it, realizes he doesn't stand a chance in that one, taps out. The score is evened up at 1-1. So the 3-0 dream dies, but the set victory still very much alive for either of our players.
And no chatting. Teammates,
we're all business here. We're all business here, I think.
Yeah.
They know that this sets the tone for the day as well, right? I think there's a big element, too, of just... Like, let's not forget that while, of course, these two competitors want the win over each other to come out of the group stage in as strong a position as possible, getting the win or the loss here affects all the way down the table. That's an extra buchholz for anybody that you've played against.
I think with that win, though, Hera is confirmed through to the semifinals. We'd have to do the math on this. But anyway, we're going to take a short break before we get into game number 3. Stay tuned with us. Thank you for being here. We'll see you in a bit.
And now, a word from our partners. Tired of interruptions ruining your moment of peace? Discover true tranquility with the Hammer Bluetooth headphone Passion Voyage. With cutting-edge noise cancellation, immersive sound, and unmatched comfort in every note. Sounds like more Hammer.
Welcome back to the Noble Apartment Cup. We're gearing up for the 3rd game in the set, but it is all tied up between these two players. The Viper now, shoes on the other foot. He gets to decide where we go. If we assume it's one of his home maps, it would either be Enclosed or Tiergarten. I think both are very comfortable maps for him. I would argue maybe for Enclosed slightly over Tiergarten, just for the fact that you get to have that dedicated safety to your wood and farming eco, and then it's all about the control of those outer resources. But we also have to consider the civs that are in play.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of this, like, picking the map here is really to tell where your opponent's going to pick a civ on a future map. So if you pick Arabia right now, there's still a question mark for Hera. Like, are you playing Berbers there? Are you playing Hindustanis? Are you playing Mines? I don't think he's going to play Turks, but you never know with Hera. It might eliminate some possibilities. So you really got to think about that when selecting a map, right? So Viper, there's still some questions. You could play Portuguese on Tiergarten. There's a lot of berries. They'd be sick if they get out to the side, but then you can count on that if you're Hera and start pressuring that.
Does Dravidians feel like a dead pick to you now at this point? Was Citadel already played?
If for any other player than Viper, sure. But I can see him picking it on Arabia, right? Like, for any other player, dead pick, 100%. But for Viper, I don't know.
Either way, we're going to Tiergarten, so we're left to wonder about the Dravidians pick for just
Turks.
a little bit longer. Yeah, Hera picking up the Turks here in the blue here on Tiergarten, the Viper over there in the red, electing to play as the Malians.
Yeah, and maybe Hera thought it was just a decent mobility civ here with the Turks. He's always liked them. The extra Pierce armor on the scout line is amazing.
Yep.
If you're fighting up against range units, but against Malians, feels like Viper should have plenty of options to fight the Turks.
I think Viper will have options. I think maybe this is a recognition from Hera, though, that a lot of games in this on this map in particular can come down to raiding from the sides.
Yep.
And castle push in the middle.
He could have also thought that Viper was going to go Portuguese here, and he thought Turks was a good matchup against Portuguese.
Right, yeah, and exactly right. And if Viper had kind of identified the map in the very same way, where ultimately we end up dropping castles in the middle, to decide the game. Again, I don't want to say that this map is all about the middle, because we've actually seen some players punished for over-commitment.
It's about the outside more than it is the middle. Like, the middle matters more early than it does later a lot of times in this map, because if someone overextends themselves, they get punished. And we haven't seen a game where all the gold on the outside is taken on either side. It's like you don't need to fall back to that central area.
Yeah, this one can typically go to Imp, but not post-Imp. Usually it's decided pretty early on by who's got the better timing and can start pushing those castles down.
So Viper's got 3 layers of trees instead of the 2. Vodka's pointing it out. He could go through 2 over there. Instead, he has made the lumber camp, and he almost needs to, he needs to chop through 3 layers.
Yeah, he's dedicating 3 vills to the first one. Taking a look at Hera's side as well, though, just
Hera's
to be
got
sure.
3 trees to go through as well.
Well,
no,
those 2 up at the top.
Yeah, but they're pretty far away from the lumber camp, so it might take a while. There's a long journey back with the wood.
Either way, small advantage there for Hera, as long as he, shift clicks and cues the villagers to continue chopping there. For the time being, though, both players make their way to the feudal age in nearly identical identical times. We do see the barracks coming down already, and the scouts moving out for some information. Going to run into each other here. Just passing or just fighting, actually.
This is way better for Viper to take this trade in Dark Age than it is for Hera, because Hera's scout is going to upgrade automatically to a light cav in the Castle Age, and he's also going to get the extra Pierce armor in Feudal. So it's much better for Viper to just get rid of that, but both of them not really interested. They're going to keep moving along. I think the key to success here in Feudal Age, if Viper is going to play archers, which I think he's going to, is probably just wall up. We saw ACCM do it against Hera. He tried to, and it worked really well early. Hera just had the better Castle Age than him, but wall up so that he can't run around with the scouts picking off your villagers. Unfortunately, it is the Viper we're talking about, so he's probably not going to do that.
Yeah, other small notable difference in the builds was the commitment to Loom for the Viper before clicking up, the commitment to an extra Vil for Hera before clicking up. Now Loom has come in, but it does mean a slight resource advantage here for Hera in the Feudal Age. There we have the stables coming up, just about to complete. Hera's going to look to send Light Cav forward, or Scouts forward, which will become Light Cav, of course, in the Castle Age.
So archers and spearmen need to be kept together. Hera will just snipe them if the archers move out alone, and we need walls, Viper, just little ones. It doesn't mean you full walled your base. You just need like 4 or 5 here around the lumber camp.
We've seen so many games lost on this map.
Around the gold, yes, by people not having the pre-walls, which are so easy and inexpensive to get down.
Well, part of that, too, is about whether or not the player wants to invest in a tower on their second wood line, right? Typically, after we break through that initial ring of forest, we move to the second one, drop a second lumber camp, and we've seen some players at times reticent to drop the defensive tower, but then we've also seen other players quick to drop the defensive tower and then not set up in a way where it can't be dove under.
Exactly. Like Doubt made that decision, and then it's funny because they asked him in the interview, right, like, what made you dive under that tower? What made you think that's a good idea? And he said, I don't know. 9 times out of 10, my whole army dies there, and it worked that time, so that's good. So it is a possibility, right? The tower isn't the be-all, end-all in terms of defensive structures. You need to accompany it with some spearmen maybe, with some walls as well. But Viper is making his way along the middle. He hasn't scouted the range from Hera, so he doesn't know that Hera has the potential to make skirmishers to clear up his spearmen and to counter his archers. And Hera is now moving out around the other side, but Viper's got a force in the north there. As Viper comes into the wood line, 2 archers, he's got the scout, he's got the spearmen, and Hera is forced to send his army back from the north. You can see it a little bit on his face. He's like, oh god, he showed up here already with this army, actually dove in. He did not expect that at all.
Yeah, we've seen what the Viper can do with 2 archers before. Of course, they don't have fletching yet, and that's why it's difficult for them to actually manage to pick off any Vils, but at the very least, he forces that response and keeps the scouts at home here from Hera. Just now turning to retreat, he's got to do the dance where the spears come forward, buy the space for the archers as the skirms are on the chase. Unfortunately, I do think for the Viper, all of these units are going to go down in the end.
I think there was some army north there, right? There was something north. It might be a spearman or something. Yeah, it's a spearman and an archer, so maybe Hera might lose some more units, but no, Hera's just going to clear all of this. Yeah. The spearmen aren't going to be fast enough to catch up. Viper does get away with the scout. And now we want to see the little walls come up at home for Viper. He might just... Oh,
okay.
Dash?
He's doing it.
He's kind of doing it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And actually, I think that this speaks to the fact that, you know, again, he realizes, okay, I can't go for the extended walls to the edge of the map. That would be the dream scenario. Mm-hmm. He's going to have to go for the more conservative walls where he does it in a little bit more the oval shape, going from the gold back to the TC. We also saw him bringing a tower up on the wood line, so he's the first of the 2 players to look for that defensive structure.
Ooh, is Hera going to expect this? Yeah, he comes out with the scouts. He knows. Viper goes for the all-in pressure here, and he's just adding a tower behind. So all of his military is coming forward. Still doesn't have fletching, so he won't snipe a Vil. But Hera can't really engage against that just yet, and Viper realizes that he's got time. He's going to run around. He's going to try to get into Hera's eco.
He has no spears at home, though. No spears at home.
Well, that's what the walls are
coming
for.
Forward.
Yeah, that's what the walls are for, and there's the stable right there from Viper to counter the scout skirmisher combo from Hera. His gold is still exposed. Doesn't have enough stone for a tower there. but has the pressure forward. So he's forcing Hera to just keep the skirmishers at home. They can't come forward and start ranging that gold as we have a pause.
Hopefully a brief one at the end, a very brief one at that.
Hera doesn't have double bit axe. Oh, there it is. Okay. Maybe adjusting his hotkey or something for it. He's like, this didn't work. Double bit axe now coming in for Hera.
Okay, and fletching on the other side. So once that completes, now all of a sudden, Hera will have to be a bit more concerned with losing villagers on the wood line like this. A scout and 2 archers is plenty to deal damage to unprotected villagers. Hasn't acknowledged that this is happening yet, and so 1 vill goes down. Now another one. He's bringing the military over to defend, but that's 2 villager kills with just 3 military. He gets a good surround over here on the other archers and the spear, but the spear is still smacking away on those scouts. He brings all of them down. I'd say this is a phenomenal fight here for the Viper. How many more vills can he pick? There is a low health one there. Might decide to swoop back in and look to find it, but either way, 3-0 in the eco KD.
I think the best part about that engagement was clearing up the scouts there from Hera. Now Hera has to really work to get that big mass of scouts again. And these 2 are weak as well. So he's got 4 on the field. 2 of them are very, very weak. Maybe
Skirm's
one of them might die here. And Viper actually managed to save some army at the same time as sniping some villagers, the 3 villagers that went down. So great approach here from Viper once again in the early game. This is kind of reminiscent of game number 1 where he gets that eco lead. And the res collected, over 500 ahead for Viper at the moment. Really, really solid job as Hera finally invests the stone into the tower defending the wood line.
And that would have maybe the one things you could have said.
He could have done
Hera,
earlier.
Right? Yeah, he could have done earlier for sure. But then if you're not going to do it, okay, you have the stone either to go for the TC expansion in the Castle Age or to sell and beat your opponent to the Castle Age. Now, after taking the damage, you choose to invest in the building. And in the meantime, it's going to be the Viper who goes to the market first. Maybe look to balance that economy out. The resources looking much better for him on the way to the Castle Age. This is a hard situation to out-micro, though. He's going to have to micro back, see how many of the scouts he can pick off, but ultimately these archers are going down. In the end, he does kill 2, looking for a 3rd. Unfortunately, that micro is there for Hera, and Hera will get away, diving under the TC as well. Not what you want to see there from the Viper. Now coming back underneath the safety of his own tower, keeps a few of those archers alive just in time to click up to the castle.
We had a little moment there where Viper was getting really confident with just archers, no spearman buddies along, and then he saw that whole big group of scouts just waiting there. You could tell he's like, I need to retreat. Oh no, he sees me. Yeah, exactly. We need to fight now. Viper's on the way to Castle Age though, and he's adding that stable, and we talked about it before. The Malians have the potential to fight up against the Turks. Their Turks' only eco bonus is going to be the faster mining gold, which Hera clearly is getting use out of right now. But the Malians are saving wood on all their buildings, and I think the tech tree for them is a little bit more versatile than the one for the Turks.
I do like Hera's walling so much more, though, because he has managed to wall to the edges
with
of the
houses.
With houses, which means so much farming space. And Hera will make use of all of that farming space in the long run. On the flip side, it's very wonky walling there from the Viper. It gave him way more safety in the early game in a more compact base, but it is going to put the onus on him as he expands to keep adding levels of safety to his base.
Yeah, the Malians are going to be favored, I think, in the Castle Age. In the super late game, though, if both civs have gold access, we should then switch over to the Turks. And then in the super, super late game, I think the Turks are still... Well, they don't have pikemen. I was
going to say, the issue of trash.
But the Hussar are so good.
The Hussar are nuts. But obviously, we have a great raiding unit on the other side. If you can
and the
get
light
to the
cav with the Farimba as well.
Farimba light cav, exactly.
I hesitate to already go there, though, because it feels like with the way these two are playing, one of them is going to be able to cap this off in Castle Age or early in.
They have an incredible willingness to take fights against each other, right? And then it does come down to maybe that one fight where a player either out micros or, makes a blunder and miss micros, and that could be the snowball that gives permission to roll forward and end the game. Again, it's the Viper who gets to the Castle Age first. He's even thinking about, as Crossbone Bodkin comes in, does he dive underneath this tower? He could trade out against the skirmishers.
Oh, what
and there's no military remaining here for Hera, so he's just going to park these crossbows crossbows underneath the tower, push Hera off of the wood line. Not too many villagers going down in the end, but tons of idle time force.
And he's denied him from cutting through to that center area. I can just hear Doubt in the back going like, he learned that from me! He learned that from me! See, Viper copies all my plays as he sits under the tower, and now he's going to move away with the crossbows. Hera is forced to run with those 3 villagers, trying to come back to the middle with these other villagers. Crossbow is a really, really nice opening here for Viper, as these 3 Vills will just die, and Viper will extend his villager lead. He's just going to chase after them with the Knight. He keeps the crossbows forward to apply the pressure to Hera, and this is a constant headache to Hera as Viper begins to expand his economy with a second town center.
Yeah, forced to jump back into that tower. The rest of the Vills pushed off of the wood line. That's no wood income at the moment here for Hera, and very little in the bank. Finally gets a monk out. That'll be helpful here against the camels, and maybe finally convince Viper to vacate the area and buy him a bit of time to breathe. We saw those villagers go down. Thank you so much to Vodka for confirming that. It's a small villager lead here now for the Viper, but he's already moved out to a second TC, and he's looking to outboom.
Hera's got 1 on wood, and he's got 0 on stone, and he doesn't have enough stone for a second TC even if he wanted it. He's got 1 on wood. Like, is he making a lumber camp? Is he just waiting until this is cleared to come back out to wood? It doesn't look like he has any straggler trees left. He's just waiting. He's waiting patiently inside that tower so that he can get enough wood to potentially make a lumber camp in a safer position. Imagine if Hera hadn't built that tower in the first place. This game would be over.
Completely over.
Completely over.
And either way, it's still in a very precarious position for him because the Viper has fantastic Vill production. He's got a solid economy behind all of this. Again, the walling is the thing that might come back to bite him in the end because he already have 7 light cav over there with 2 more in the queue. So while he moves out to a 3rd TC, it actually is going to get spotted by that singular skirmisher. I don't know if Hera can
it got killed.
On it.
It got killed by the villager. So I don't think Hera spotted that town center. I mean, it's not going to help him out a whole lot, even if he did, right? He's just kind of reeling. He's in recovery mode right now. He does have +2 armor on the light cav, though. And he will feel like they're cheap enough that he can just dive under town centers and maybe try and get the odd villager kill. He's going to need a lot.
Yeah.
He's going to need a lot to even the count with Viper, and the camels are playing defensive. The camels are waiting for those light cav raids.
And Hera has taken such an incredible risk to try and come back in this game. That risk being...
Viper's crossbows around the wood line again.
Oh, my goodness.
In the middle.
Yep.
They're in the middle.
Standing right outside of the tower range, perhaps. They're going to harass and force those lumberjacks away. Of course, they can go back to the secondary wood line. I think, though, you need to take a look at how many villagers are on berries for Hera. This, to me, says that he's willing to take a risk to stay in the game because he can't afford a TC there.
Has to go
And if that gets found, it could be game over, though.
Yeah, that's a decent size of villagers over there on the berries as the light cav come in. Remember, +2 armor is huge for diving under those town centers. The light cav now sniping the monks. Hera's just looking for as much value as possible. He's got 12 light cav. It's quite a few, and he's bringing them to the center to kill the crossbows. He's also raiding the woodlines. The walls here would be huge for Viper if he could get them down. Yeah. The camels aren't going to be able to track everything. Viper is going to begin to start losing villagers in his economy, everywhere in his economy, if he doesn't wall up.
Yeah, we were asking for walls. We didn't get them, but camels are a great response to light cav in the end. He does get a couple Vill snipes here. I think the problem right now is that, the Malians have built themselves a 20 eco lead. They're building into a composition that they know and love. Now we have the castle coming somewhat, actually forward, but still conservative enough, I think, that it can't be punished.
I think I would like the castle defensively. To protect, it protects
for the
against
line?
The light cav. You can make Gabetto, and you will have enough stone eventually for another castle.
Do we
this
have
one,
camels here?
like, Hera's not going to prioritize this gold anyway. So I'm not certain what this one accomplishes at the moment. Maybe just cut off the wood line a little bit, but the camels are still trying to prevent those light cap from coming in. Hera's trying to get some good conversions, but the crossbows snipe down the monks, and the castle's going to go up regardless. I think Viper avoids losing even a single villager here if he's careful.
Holding on to 4 crossbows to deal with the monks is just such a phenomenal play there. I thought it could have been turned if enough of those conversions come through. Yes, the light cav will look to snipe the monk. of the Viper, but enough villagers were brought forward. The castle does go up in the end, and that's enough for Hera to tap out. He had no options for how to come back into it. Down in economy, down in the military, down in the map control. Beautiful play by the Viper to bring himself back up by 1 game in the series.
Viper could have gone for the defensive castle. He sensed that maybe that one would have pushed Hera out of the game, and it did. So credit to Viper. He had just enough to defend against that, right? I could easily see that engagement going a different way if the conversions came in, if he didn't have the crossbow sitting right there. But of course, it's Viper. He judged it, and he figured out that castle was a good idea.
These guys are going tit for tat, and I love it. They're exchanging blows like top competitors should, right? And they're doing it in a way that's constantly checking the other. They're asking the questions, forcing the other one to provide the answers, and time again, when one player comes up just short, the capitalization is there. And what's funny in a way is this is almost playing out a little bit more to my expectation of what the Hera Leary set was in terms of the pace of
the game. So they're not going super late. Yeah, which is, if you had asked me which series would be 5 games going super late, hour plus, it's going to be Hera Viper.
Right.
It's not going to be Hera Leary.
Yeah. Replay these in like a year or something with the names wiped off the screen and ask people to predict or guess which player is which. And I think there's a situation where people get that one wrong. But it's been very cool stylistically to see here. And again, I think the Viper is playing hot in this tournament. Yeah, exactly.
It looks cozy.
Very cozy.
He's just so comfortable. Hera's coming out here for a short break. Viper's just chilling. Rocking back and forth.
I think a much-deserved short break here after 3 games in the series and down by 1 game. And speaking of a short break, I think we'll toss y'all to a short break before we return to see if Hera can equalize at 2-2 and bring us to a 5th and final game. We'll see you back here in just a bit.
And now, a word from our partners.
A mouse! A mouse!
What is it, dear? Why you rage? Oh, honey. That's no ordinary mouse. It's the UH Reaper 250. With this mouse in your household, you never have to be scared again.
Yes, the U-Rage Reaper 250, featuring DPI control, advanced ergonomics, RGB lighting, and customizable buttons, is the perfect addition to every competitive household. Why U-Rage? It's all good. Get yours on Mueller.de.
And welcome back to the Noble Apartment Cup for Game 4 between the Viper and Hera. I want 5 games. I know Dave wants 5 games. I'm pretty certain everybody in this chat wants 5 games, but that's going to require Hera to take the proper map selection, proper Civ matchup, and ultimately take the game.
I think he's saving Arabia for Game 5.
Okay.
I think he's saving Arabia there. I heard him and Leary speaking, and afterwards they were saying, man, Game 5 Arabia, we should have just played it first.
That's true.
And whoever wins that in Game 1 just wins the whole series. That should have been the way we set it up rather than playing for 4 hours or whatever they did.
I'm a happy guy to see series end on Arabia as well, though. It's a classic of the Age of Empires scene. It's a classic for all of these players.
What's Viper's other map?
Enclosed.
Enclosed.
So stylistically similar to what we just saw.
Yeah.
Of course, we have Portuguese. We can maybe pull up the Civ draft just as a reminder because there should be 3 remaining Civs for each player with 2 remaining
He's got Dravidians.
Maps.
He's got Portuguese.
There's no way Dravidians is played here, right? That would be insanity.
I mean, it's Viper.
Insanity.
It's Viper, dude. I don't know, man. I could see him playing Dravidians on Arabia. I could just see it.
I'd be so angry.
I could see it.
I'd be so angry. But I'm on a crusade against that Civ since its inception. So.
Did you recruit Mem or did he recruit you?
I honestly don't know. I think we independently came up with the idea, but that's how I know that Mem's a brilliant guy. You know what I mean? If 2 great minds come up with a similar idea from halfway across the world, then there must be something to it. That's what I always say. The Viper, though, kind of in a relaxed state. Oh, he's thinking. This is what he's thinking.
See in the reflection.
You know what it is?
What is he looking at?
No, he's trying to justify Dravidians in his mind right now. That's what it is. Yeah. He's like, how do I make that work?
Yeah. If I go Dravidians on Arabia,
yes, yeah.
He beats that, and then I try this, and then he beats that.
Yes.
But I might win with skirms in the late game.
Yes, but if I won with Dravidians, ooh, think about that. Think about a
the
world in
Arumi-
which I did win with Dravidians.
Imagine splitting against Scorpions with Arumi Swordsman and then quick walling in his entire army.
Oh my goodness. Did I just hear a relic sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Someone picked up a holy relic. We don't know who.
Right. Who's getting away with a relic right now?
They're generating gold. We need to find them.
Yo. Did we ever follow up on whether or not a player has ever out relic golded their own mining from the other day with
it's
the 10K
happened.
gold of
It's
Hera?
surely it's happened
in like a 3-hour game. Okay, so Incas being the third option, right? We had talked about Portuguese Dravidians. There's also Incas in play here for the Viper. On the flip side,
you can't play Dravidians in this set.
No,
you just can't.
I think it's actually Portuguese on enclosed, yeah, and then it's Incas on Arabia.
Yeah.
So then on the other side, working under that expectation, what are the matchups that Hera wants?
I think you're not cool with the Mayans versus Incas on Arabia, so you might want to go with. Ooh,
I think you want what? Do you even want Berbers in the Incas? Because I don't really want to be playing a Cav Civ. Granted, we do have Camel Archers in the long run, but into Eagles and stuff doesn't feel great.
You might even play...
So Hindustanis for gunpowder against Incas?
You might even save Hindustanis for Arabia.
Yeah, I think you're playing Hindustanis
and go for Mayans on enclosed. It doesn't feel great.
That feels awful in the Portuguese, though.
Yeah, but in the early game, you can get something done.
Okay. Camel Archers no good, though, against Portuguese?
Yeah, but you're thinking about the early game, right? I think Portuguese have a little bit of an event. I mean, it's Hera at the end of the day. He can make any civ work.
Right.
So it's whatever he can justify to himself. Obviously, in the late game, Berbers feel great on enclosed. Camel Archers are amazing.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just whether you're able to keep up with them, and we'll see. We are going on to enclosed here, and it's going to be Hera playing as the Hindustanis here, and then Viper playing as the Portuguese.
Yeah, there you have it. Okay, so we'll get that overlay fixed for you all so as to not be too confusing. But how about these generations? This is about as close as you can possibly spawn to your opponent on enclosed.
Oh my god, yeah, I just looked at the map. Oh my god, I have not seen
I've
this.
never seen this.
I've never seen them so
at each
close.
other's woodline firing over each other in just a moment.
I mean, Viper might push his deer into the woodline and it might run into Hera's base. Honestly, this is not the regular enclosed, and we have to kind of wonder which civ does this now favor once they've actually scouted each other. They're going to be stunned when they see how close they are.
Exactly, yeah. We're aware of it. The players shouldn't be aware of it just yet. But once they get a few of those deer pushed in,
this is a completely different map.
Scouting. Yeah, no, it completely warps the way that this map is played.
I could honestly see with the way these two are, I could see them being so close and then just end up engaging on the far side in the north, like fighting over those relics, and all the fights are happening there, and then they're chopping through to each other in the woodline, not paying attention at all.
Also, the funny thing will be to watch the cameras if either player goes out for their first scouting of the opponent's base and does take the northern route.
They're both going to take the northern route, I think.
And if they get more than halfway across and they're like, wait, I still haven't run into this guy's base. Yeah. What is going on?
Yeah, and Viper, I mean, Viper is just pushing in the deer. Let's see their scouting. Let's see if there's any indications whatsoever that they are nearby to another player. If we could see their Fog of War vodka, that would be amazing.
I think you're right, though. Hera's going off to the left-hand side, and that's not where his deer were.
Yeah, he's just finding
just
the
those
water
extra
buffalo,
two
and now he's
buffalo.
coming back the other way, too. So he's going to continue pushing the deer. You need to get those deer in really, really quickly, and Viper will be doing the same.
He's going up to feudal.
Some idle vills there for Viper. That's not great.
Okay, Hera's also going up to feudal. Again, he avoided clicking loom before going up, so we'll have the one vill advantage, but the timings are going to be 1 second apart here. A couple things of note when it comes to these civs. For example, the Portuguese really want to make use of those berries for the extra wood income. And as we've mentioned many, many times on this map, of course, the only protected resources you have on this map are, of course, your woodline, though maybe not the case with this specific map generation.
There we go.
And most of your resources are rather vulnerable, being outside of that stone ring, making it impossible to wall super easily.
Geez, I just got completely flamboozled by the positions on the scoreboard. I thought Viper was over on the right side. He was like
So did I,
left
actually,
side.
this whole
my
time.
God.
Oh, my goodness.
I think half of chat got completely
Okay.
messed up with that. So we've got it sorted now.
That
We've
makes
got
sense.
It all
I was
sorted
like,
out.
Hera went really
Yeah,
early to berries.
yeah.
Went really early to berries.
it-
and that makes a lot more sense as
A lot
the
more
Portuguese.
sense. Okay, we're all sorted now. We can get this one figured out. And Barrick's already coming up here for the Viper, who is playing in the red. And both players are going to be very, very similar.
He
Hera
did go
went
north,
out north.
man. Oh,
but,
my
I mean,
God.
He's going to know process of elimination that Viper is super close. He's
But look,
stalled
he's-
at the
he's-
scout, and he's kind of like, where?
Yeah, that's the 180 degree of the circle right there. He's like, this is where my opponent should be, or at least the beginnings of his base, and just now going to be made aware of how close they actually are. And while Hera did get some of those military buildings up, it's actually the Viper in a way who's got the better walling setup for the proximity of their bases.
Yeah, and Viper's going for a stable here. Maybe this close stable isn't the best option, but that's what you built up towards, right? Archers could be really solid if you're this close to your opponent. Hera's probably going to be going for a stable of his own, but he is on gold. So maybe he's now adapting into an archer range really, really quickly because he saw how close his opponent was.
I just want to know what's going through these guys' head. I mean, it'll be a question I'll be sure to ask, particularly in the winner's interview a little bit later on, because I think it's a generation that even if you were to play this map many times in practice, you might never end up with.
It's not bugged or anything.
No.
I like the fact that it can generate this close. It makes for a really, really type of unique sort of game on enclosed. We've seen so many enclosed games that all play out the same. And this should potentially play out differently. Hera's going for a fast range behind this stable. He's on the gold with quite a few villagers, and he still has scouts coming out. Viper, 3 scouts right now, 3 spearmen as well, and then a singular scout in the queue, but I don't see the archer range coming up from him. He has spotted the range from Hera. Let's see if he prioritizes getting down an archer range of his own in order to counter that.
And look at that, how long the loom managed to be delayed, right? Because of the walling that he had around those berries, the only vulnerable vills were actually protected. He could keep that extra vill advantage going for quite some time. And it's netted a 250 resources collected lead. Now, the military counts are identical at this point. We see the Viper finally moving out to drop that archery range just in front of the berries and transition some vills onto gold.
Farm count is at 7 right now. Resources collected is ahead for Viper. Big part of that, the berries. Bringing in the extra resources. Viper's eco has been fairly efficient so far. And fletching is on the way for Hera. Good army counts for both of them.
Housed.
But the archers are out first from Hera as Viper was briefly housed at 35 pop.
Yeah, delayed a little villager production, prevented that
Tower.
first archer from coming out nice and early. Tower coming up defensively. This is pretty typical on this map, especially for one of the two players, the one that feels like they're going to be in a more defensive posture for longer. I think it's crucial that the Viper was able to squeeze in horse collar before getting those farms down, whereas we saw Hera not yet dropping any farms, but still not managed to get that very lovely eco upgrade in. Now coming forward for his first stab at some damage.
Viper better get some more vills on that tower.
Yeah, and fast.
Well, I mean,
And
Hera's
fast.
coming in here. Hera's coming in
spears.
here. Viper doesn't lose a villager. So the tower comes up perfectly on time. He's also got the house walls behind. Viper's in on the gold from Hera. He's got a lot of scouts over there. I believe I only saw a couple spearmen, so Viper might be able to pick those off one by one. He decides he doesn't want to take the damage. He's just going to wound the villagers a little bit and then potentially run away.
Yeah, the scout standing still there for a moment. Unfortunately, one does go down without finding even much chip damage onto the villagers. Hera's just going to go ahead and smack away at the walls
Hindustani
here.
scouts are insane,
They
man.
do.
That house is going down so quickly. He's going to be into the farm eco. There's not much there to hit. But still, it's annoying for Viper, for sure.
Super annoying to have to replace that or to think about trying to repair. Like you say, because of the proximity of the TC to the woodlines and whatnot, he's not going to find much damage. Just, again, asking questions of the Viper.
Are they going to fight in the north? Like, is Hera going to loop around to the north just like Viper is, and they're just going to fight up there? Viper goes all the way around. He is trying for
the
an
Viper's looking to pounce on this.
epic flank maneuver because there's no spearmen here. There are no spearmen from Hera. They're completely cut off. Viper's got the archers cutting all of this off. And Hera, I think, sensing that something isn't right. He hasn't seen the scouts in a while, so he's going to leave with his own scouts. He's just going to get out of there, sacrifice the archers, fall back to his base where he can reinforce with spearmen and archers of his own.
Yeah, and for each of these players, they'll have fletching in their arsenal, but it's going to be Hera who has the +1 to the armor for the scouts. Does lose one of his scouts on the front line just before that comes in, gets away with the rest, now even investing into the archer armor on his side. So the army composition and the overall power that each of his punches packs is going to be quite a bit more there than the Viper.
I like the archer armor here. It gives you might give you an extra hit survivability against the scouts, and also helps against the archers as well. So really, really solid. I think Hera's recognizing that this is going to be full feudal for a little while longer. Viper's trying to, toe the line. He's trying to see how much he can invest here, if he can go up to Castle Age at a reasonable time. Hera's just pushing this back with full feudal military production, and Viper's forced to retreat.
Yeah, super risky play here from the Viper to try and get to those Castle Age resources with the bare bones military needed to defend.
He does have the tower, though.
Yes.
Like, he does have the tower. He can wall to the edge. The tower was a big investment, one that Hera didn't make, and now Bloodlines on the way for Hera. Like, he is really getting the upgrade. Forging coming in.
Oh, Lordy, you got to check these upgrades. Viper has to be checking the upgrades on each of the units as they're starting to work on the stable. And like you said, Hindustani Scouts, and this is now 7, 8 of them at that. The stable is not going to last for very long, and so Viper might feel like he has to fight in order to keep that up. But again, he'll be fighting with an upgrade deficit.
Well, he does have double range, so he did add the second archer range, so his archer numbers will be in front. So interesting kind of comparison here. We've got the upgrades from Hera. He's got more scouts than Viper does, and he's probably going to kill the stable before Viper gets to Castle Age. But Viper has more archers, so Viper, with just sheer numerical power, is going to click up to Castle Age, probably going to try and keep himself safe. I can't see him pushing with this army in feudal, but the increased production should be able to do it.
Yeah, new set of house walls behind. I actually do think that there's a hole between the house, the barracks, and the other house.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll matter.
TC,
you're running into the TC, so it's not ultimately going to matter, but Hera might test him there. Instead, takes the stable down, just slowing the production speed of the Viper, and now he rolls forward again. This is only a singular standing tower. It'll help a bit, and the numbers of archers do look good here for the Viper. Just now getting the archer armor. Hera looks to dive. He wants to fight. This is why he went into the upgrades, looking for the snipes and the micro. We've got the villagers garrisoning into that tower. How much does it do in terms of aiding the Viper in this battle? But the numbers are dwindling quick. The front line is almost gone here for the Viper. The final scout goes down. There's still 5 scouts alive here from Hera. He gets himself positioned underneath the tower with a few skirmishers, but yep, the numbers are still looking decent on the archers here for the Viper overall. We see the house walls coming down. Now the villagers are diving into the fight themselves, pushing the skirmishers away. I'd say this looks good for the player who's on the way to the Castle Age.
I mean, like, I would love to see just a full replay of that fight, because so many things were happening. The tower was sniping all the archers from Hera, so Viper was manually clicking that. He was microing his archers. He was making house walls in the middle of that fight. He was fighting with his villagers, and Hera keeps coming in, but Hera's losing pop. Hera's losing pop under here. Military count for Hera is now 7, and Hera hasn't clicked up yet. And Viper gets to the Castle Age. Viper has double range. He's got a lot of food to add in some more scouts here. He has the wood available as well to make the extra crossbows, and he's back onto the gold. So Viper should be in a decent position. Hera, though, will buy himself a little bit more time. And look at this.
You asked for it. We'll get it. The replay underneath the tower. It's the commitment here from Hera, and let's try and break this down. I mean, I think for both players, they understand what's important. It's the range, sniping the range. He's trying to rely on the scout upgrades in that scout v scout battle, but Viper pulling the villagers as well to aid in a little bit of extra damage. That tower firing away, and crucially, the number of archers that he was able to maintain through all of this. Not enough losses coming through. In fact, really by the end of the fight, not a single villager had gone down, while 3 ultimately did fall by the end of the trickle fight. The crossbows are forward now here for the Viper, still only with fletching, and that's part of what Hera achieved in that fight, is stalling out the resource gain here from the Viper, but still a nice lead here for the Snake.
And Viper went back on stone, so he can add an extra TC. There's the second TC for him. So he's going to start expanding his lead a little bit. He did lose villagers in that fight, so he needs to start gaining back a lead here on Hera if he wants to take advantage of that. And Hera is actually walled up, and he's made more feudal age units. Hera's recovered very nicely from the early castle age time for Viper. Viper wasn't able to do any damage, so great job from Hera. Once again, we're in a game state that's really similar. Resources collected, 11.1k for both. Oh my goodness.
Overall,
how do they do this?
Yeah, overall KD nearly equivalent.
Uh-oh, Viper.
And while it is a 6-villager lead, it's important to recognize Wheelbarrow did come in. So, in fact, it's more like the 3-villager lead that the kills netted Hera. He's going to try and retreat with those Cav Archers. Does lose one. Barely gets the house wall up in time so that the scouts can't get in. Bodkin on the way now here for Hera already in for the side of the Viper.
Yeah,
Viper, though, has gotten to that second TC to help protect the stone.
Let's look at the middle wood line.
Well,
they're getting
he's on stone. You just start dropping towers.
And Viper knows that Hera's right there. Hera doesn't have any vision on that. He still thinks it's a full wood line here. They're getting awfully close to each other in the center there.
Yeah, Bodkin Arrow watchtowers, 1 or 2 on that wood line can really start to make it difficult there for Hera. I mean, 7 on stone, maybe even thinking about a castle drop at some point is the Viper already. Of course, he is playing the Portuguese. Love to play into their unique unit there of the Organ Gun.
Dude, even like you watch the res collected number, when they take up an extra 100, like 12.5, 12.6, it's happening at the same second. Like in the same instance. Viper finally pulling ahead just a little bit as I mention it. But, I mean, this has been so close between these two. And now the villager count is going to be even as that extra villager comes out from Viper from his second town center. Hera hasn't been able to get any snipes here. 48 villagers for both. 13.2k res collected for Hera, 13.3 for Viper.
Yeah, we constantly talk about the push and pull of a game of Age of Empires and which player in any moment is the one that needs to make something happen, needs to find some damage, and in this case, it's Hera being on 1 TC, needing to find a little bit of damage and maybe buy himself an avenue back into this game because left in a steady state situation for the next 10 minutes, Viper will slowly pull ahead.
Yeah, and Hera's just diving in.
Here's one way you do it.
Hera's just going to dive in. Viper had a lot of faith in that town center. The quick walls come out nicely. The TC's still firing away. The Cav Archers are still there, and Hera gets away with a villager kill without losing a unit. But Viper did have those crossbows in that center wood line, so he's looking for damage there, not finding it. But he is finding damage over here. He snuck a few knights, I think, all the way around the map. I think Hera's walled there, so they must have come all the way around
well, in a
to
weird
the berries.
Way, the benefit of this map, right, is that your opponent is rarely going to assume you'd be willing to take that journey. And so if you do with a couple of power pick units, you can find a snipe, but this is a great response with the camels coming out by the Hindustani player. Obviously, Knight's not going to feel like a long-term play.
Yeah, and it was only one villager down, but it's a distraction.
Yep.
It's a distraction as Hera keeps working away on that replacement house. Hera's doing a phenomenal job just keeping the skirms as a presence in Viper's eco, running inside, so Viper has to constantly be concerned about that army raiding, even with the town center there. And the pressure is on Viper to try and mass these Cav Archers without losing his original mass, essentially, as Hera is just wandering around with the counter units. He's got camels, he's got skirms.
Yeah, this isn't easy for the Viper. He's playing into camels and skirms while he's producing Cav Archers and some knights.
Yeah, I mean, it's just attention to detail. He's got to constantly have his eye on the army as Hera is in the middle of his base again, raiding underneath town centers. Most players wouldn't do that. Hera doesn't care. He's just using the mobility back and forth, back and forth. He's in, and then he's out, and then he's in again. But Viper, with 3 town centers, 65 villagers against 53 from Hera, and the eco upgrades for Viper are looking quite solid as well.
Yeah, I think we have a 4th town center now
TC.
coming up.
Wow.
We have, I think, Market followed by University probably pretty soon here for the Viper as well, wanting to get ballistics in at some point for those Cav Archers. Wants to have the numbers climb, although I say that, the production has stopped. We have 2 Cav Archers on the field, 3 crossbows, 2 feudal age skirms, and a monk. These could become overwhelming numbers here for Hera if Viper starts to disrespect the production of his opponent.
Viper needs to start producing here. And then
castle at home.
Work towards, I was about to say he could work towards a forward castle if he clears the army from Hera. He's going to go for that castle at home. It protects the gold. It protects the TC. Hera sees that castle really, really quickly. I think Most people wouldn't because there's a TC there. They just kind of sit and harass this area with the skirmishers. You never know with Hera, though. He might just completely
if that
disregard
house doesn't come
the
up,
town
I
center.
think he might jump.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the house does come up, and he does have the protection of the TC on one side and the watchtower on the other. So while he'll harass and delay this castle for
Military
as long
count
as
for Viper
possible,
is brutal.
it's absolutely awful.
It's like he's waiting for these organ guns, but if he doesn't get the castle up, he can't produce the organ guns. So now he has to sell resources to try and get Scorpions to push the skirmishers away. Hera is just producing military.
Oh, he's in on the
Viper's
tower.
on the 4 TC boom, and Hera gets in there, but Viper goes for the quick wall and traps in the light cap. Still, there's villagers inside of that tower.
There's villagers inside of that tower. The tower's going down quickly. The castle still isn't up. Now we have camels diving under the TC. We said it. There aren't many players who would commit to a play like this, and Hera recognizes it as his moment to take the game, punish Viper for the greed. The 4 TCs fall by the castle, the lack of military numbers, and now underneath the TC go the +2 light cav. They don't really care that much about your Bodkin in this moment. They're going to wrap up some villager kills, right? Or just like that, 12-2 stands the Eco KD, and the Viper still can't get this castle up.
I mean, the issue here for Viper is that he's going to think that Hera has the second town center up already. And he's going to think that he's like even in villagers right now. Right now, he's still ahead in eco. If he gets this castle up, he can produce organs. He can potentially push this back. However, in his mind, he's just suffered dire losses. And Hera is taking the lead in this situation. Hera's ahead on the score. Viper's trying to save this Mangano, which he will do. Hera finally loses the light cap to the town center, and he can finally produce a unit that will actually do something here in the organ guns. It's been phenomenal pressure from Hera thus far, and he's going to start the reboom behind this after killing probably, what, 15 villagers, 10 villagers in that engagement against Viper?
Exactly. I think it was exactly 15. You're correct. Up to a 17-2 Eco KD overall. I think, yeah, the Viper will be happy to have finally gotten the castle up, just help secure the gold and start producing a useful unit. We are 1 to 2 trees away from cutting through in the center of the map, trying to keep this Mangonel alive in defense as well as the light cav jump in. Now it's just a question of whether or not Hera did enough to get himself back into this game with the second and third TC coming up. That Vil gap is closing ever so slightly, but we still have Handcart now on the way to match the Handcart over there of Hera, and a big military advantage in terms of numbers right now for the Hindustani player. 2 monks being sniped in the back there, looking to go out for some relic control.
How did Viper manage to sneak in 2 relics while this is all happening? I didn't even notice those relics coming in.
I didn't either.
Yeah, that's just classic Viper, right? Maybe he had one in his base, but one was a little bit further away as well. He's going out for a third as well. Normally,
that one is somewhat being camped. I guess not close enough.
Not
yet.
close enough, no. Normally, relics are a huge deal on a map that goes to the late game because they're on opposite sides. Now that they're so close, I think Hera has kind of disregarded the relics in a sense. Viper obviously still paying attention to those. Hera just forced to pay attention to this huge push he's had consistently through the center ever since reaching the Castle Age. Now the push has a different objective. The push initially was to do damage to Viper. I think now the push is to delay so that his eco can catch up with the 4 town center boom behind.
Yeah.
And
buy time.
He's actually thinking about going in. Look at the food from Hera. Look at the resources from Viper.
Yeah,
You're going to
sell
click
some
up
of
at
that
the same
wood
time.
and you're up. Okay, it's Viper actually who sells wood first. I'm still looking. I know that the market is up back at home, so Hera could make similar usage of it, get himself up to the Imperial Age. He's actually lacking a building.
Ooh.
He's lacking a building as well right now.
He's produced so much. How is he lacking a building? 3 monasteries from Hera. Triple monasteries, not just lacking one building, apparently. Feels like he's lacking 3, and he's going to go for the monks because he anticipates maybe that Viper will go for Bombard Cannon Organ Gun, and he wants monks to counter that.
Yeah. Block printing Redemption in the Imperial Age is a pretty decent counter to the composition that he's assuming the Viper will go for, but the Viper on the way to the Imperial Age. Redemption now being vested into. Actually, the gold count's not looking great anymore here for Hera when it comes to clicking up, so it could end up in a situation where once again we have Castle Age spam versus Imperial Age push.
I wonder if there's an argument. Normally, I hate when players castle the woodline in the center because it can just easily be trapped by the other side. But I wonder if there's an argument for Viper to eventually do that and try and cut through there into Hera's base and deny him all that easy wood. He's just going to go for the castle on the other side, playing standard enclosed now, trying to castle on the hills, protect a gold, protect a stone, and keep them in a safe position, especially because it's one of your production buildings, right? You need it to produce the organ guns, which are going to be an essential part of your composition.
Now, I'm not even sure that the Viper has scouted those monasteries, but we see the stables going up, which very likely is for Light Cav here in the Imperial Age, maybe recognizing that given the unit composition he wants to build into, there really is only one super effective counter, and that would be Redemption Monks. So already thinking about the counter to that.
I'm actually stunned that Hera is so late to click up. He must have thought he clicked up or something. Or maybe he just purely forgot about it because he was busy with
I don't know.
something else,
He did the 3 monasteries, and then he chose to invest into the Redemption as opposed to click up, then invest on the way.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, the timing here. I mean, he's going to be significantly further behind, 2 minutes behind to Viper. So Viper will have time to get chemistry. He's going to have time to start working on the bombard cannon production as well, and then maybe even Trebs to start hitting the TCs. Which town center did Hera go up with? Hopefully it's not the middle.
Oh,
Burp.
Lord.
I don't think.
Which a lot of times
Viper's not making a
TC
trap.
would be a decent one,
Yeah.
right? You know, typically you've reached out for maybe one that's a little bit more in a precarious position, but this is a good light cav raid that finds the villagers trying to stonewall up. And actually like that move from the Viper. Again, when you're going to play through a very slow-moving composition like organ guns and bombard cannons, you need to make sure then that your eco is fully protected so you're not forced to respond and come back constantly. So Hera doing his best to keep that side of the map open. We have those organ guns forward with chemistry about to complete in just a moment. I think Hera has the numbers for the time being, at least to hold this choke point. And we do have Sanctity coming in on top. And actually, this is a great surround. These are the ones that did the raiding for the walls. And so it looks like Viper's numbers will be depleted in this moment as the Light Cav make quick work of the organ guns.
Yeah, flanking maneuver there from Hera, and the organ guns all get cleared up. Viper does have double castle production on those. Looks like he's walling up a little bit behind, but Hera suddenly has the villager lead over Viper, which he hasn't had for the majority of the game. So the 4-town center reboom definitely worked for him. He's teching into Hussar, no surprise there, and he manages to get to the Imperial Age. Meanwhile, Viper teching into Light Cav. He's got the castle covering the gold in the north like we saw. He'll probably extend out for another one, and he's got 4 relics. So Viper's thinking, okay, I'm Portuguese. I'm going to set up for the late game. I'm just going to camp this little corner over here. You try and raid me, and I'm going to try and hold into the point where my resources
Got to get those walls up. Got to get those walls up. There were 2 undone pieces of it, and the Hussar are through. This is going to be annoying, ultimately, with the castle up and the second layer of stone walls back there, actually. I think this won't be as disastrous as initially thought for the Viper, and he manages to get those final walls up and will protect the majority of his eco. A good recovery there from the Viper. Even finds the villager in the top, trying to put up a sneak stable. Great find as well there. Denies that.
Really good use of the mobility. And that's why you tech into Light Cav, so that you have some threat coming forward, right? You can't just do the organ guns. It is going to be fully chopped through on that
Fully chopped through, but I want to, the moment you chop through, I want to see a gate. Because Hera will also use that to start raiding you.
I want to see a castle.
Well, a castle, yes, but just give me one gate. Just give me one gate.
Probably a terrible idea, but it asserts dominance.
Yeah. Look at this, the singular Light Cav raid in the back. It is being responded to with Hussars, so it's not going to find too much damage. Maybe one villager going down, but the Viper going to rotate around the north, dropping another castle up there as well, bringing his military that direction to force a response. He's got another set of those organ guns here on the front lines, holding the choke, making it difficult for Hera to ever find a way through. There's the block printing we were looking for that'll help the monks in that battle, but only 2 monks on the field so far. And the first castle position going down here in the south for Hera.
This is a crazy setup for a player like Viper. Like, this is this situation that you want Viper in every game he loads into. Portuguese, probably one of his favorite civilizations all time, right? He goes for organ guns, which are one of his favorite units all time. He's got the eco, the relic lead.
Was that Arquebus just finished?
He's got the castle set up on hills. Arquebus came in. Yeah, I'm not sure if elite organ gun is in yet.
I don't believe that.
I think elite organ gun is really important against the Hussar, just to have the extra attack to punch through the armor. But he'll probably work on that next. He wants to go for Arquebus first. And now the Hussar are engaging against these organ guns. There's a lot of organ guns here. You can see all of the bullets just spreading out. And if the Hussar attack in a group like that, it's going to be a really, really bad time.
Yeah, we were talking the other day about how that's an interesting change where it does make the Organs less effective in low numbers and earlier on in the game. As you scale through, they become a lot more effective against large army counts because the spread effectively still hits a number of units.
You do need a lot of them.
One. You do need a lot.
You need a lot of them, especially with units with high Pierce armor. And these Hussar are going to have quite high Pierce armor. You can see them tanking a lot of these shots as the Organ Guns try and get shots away. Still no elite in just yet as Hera tries to get the surround on this. Even Blast Furnace on the way from Hera, which will make his Hussars even more effective. Viper still got 18 Organ Guns just kind of tucked into that little mass, and Elite is in. Elite should make a big difference in these fights.
Yep. Now take a look, though, in Viper's base. You can see the raids come through. He put those walls up. There's a hole between those two houses. He thinks he's protected. These Hussar are going to come streaming through in small groups of 3. They're going to make a mess of the Viper's eco. He's still sitting at 120 vills, but already Hera is very aware of that and making great use of that small avenue into his opponent's base. Now he himself is looking to push forward on the southern side with a couple of Trebs and some skirmishers in tow.
Yeah, and population right now, 190 for Hera almost, and 160 for the Viper as the Hussar just keep coming in. Hera is just raiding all over the place. Viper is trying to push from the north. He's got castles set up on hills in areas that Hera just isn't interested in raiding. He can't protect this main farming eco at the moment. The Organ Gun number is solid, but it's also the wood eco as well, because pointing out the wood, just 3 on wood currently.
No production for the Viper.
From Viper.
There's no production, and it's because he's pushed off of wood. His main unit right now in his army comp requires that wood. He is using light calves still to deal with the monks, deal with the Trebs, buy himself some time, but one of his TCs is looking to go down back at home to the second Treb. He's trying to get those villagers back onto wood, get the income rolling again. Crucially, still hasn't closed that hole. And with a gate up on the other side, Hera can keep streaming units through if he so chooses. Viper finally arriving to Hera's base here in the north, but he's going to run directly into that castle. So without any siege, he's not going to be able to make much more forward progress.
I think this is going to be difficult for Hera, though. There's no siege to take out the castle, but on enclosed, you can kind of sneak inside edge if Viper wants to apply pressure there and force some of this army back from Hera. Hera's going to really have to focus on both sides as now Devotion comes in to counter the monks. There's only a couple of those, but Hera does have 5 in production. And the Organ Gun numbers on both sides are looking solid.
They're looking solid. He's coming forward with villagers to try and drop a castle to establish a forward position. He wants to keep this trebuchet alive as well, looking for the repairs. Will he keep it up? I think he does as he commits just a couple more villagers to it. Does it go down in the end? It does, to the last 3 remaining light calves, so a fabulous find, but I don't know if Viper has the numbers to prevent this castle from going up.
Hera just keeps feeding in Hussar, both sides. Viper extends outward calmly and collectedly to another hill in the north with another castle. He believes he can hold this position, and if he doesn't, at least he's going to have somewhere to fall back to. The army of Organ Guns in the north is still somewhat preventing Hera from raiding from that side, and this army has now cleared up the pressure from Hera, but the castle is still there. As we can look to the north now, the Organ Guns taking a fight against the Hussar, finally getting cleared up.
Prevent that
Viper
castle in the north?
Trying to get the castle up. It feels like the castle might be denied if Hera attacks right now. It's at 87, 88, 89. It might still go up. 93, 4, 5, 6.
It's prevented.
Doubt castle.
And now Hera wants to come out for a castle of his own to keep that one from ever going up. He's got enough Hussar there to support the villagers that are coming through. That said, while he did manage to get the castle up in the forward position here on the south, both players have trebuchets on the field, and it's going to be a near impossible choke for him to ever push with these Hussars to take out those trebuchets. So now it's about the repairs, the stone count, and the number of siege that each person has to make quick work of the opponent's castles.
Yeah, Hera's doing this only with Hussar. Hussar, a couple Trebs. The monks aren't really making a huge difference in this fight right now. And that's it. He's got 75 on food. Good positionings with the castle. Viper being a little bit greedy, trying to go out in the north without siege or anything to really threaten Hera. And Viper's now trying to hold the line.
Lombard cannon, killing one of the trebuchets. While the Hussar attempted to take his Trebuchet, he was able to defend it. Light Cav come forward now to make quick work of the second Trebuchet. Cavalier on the field. Will he be able to deny this castle setup here
And
from
he's sending
Hera?
villagers. He should be able to get his castle up. Both castles, I believe, will go up unless Hera's goes up first and he snipes the villas. Another Treb goes down. Viper trying to go for gates to deny this. Hera trying to snipe the villagers. He realizes he can't let the castle up. And the castle will go up for Hera. Still to be determined whether Viper eventually gets that one completed, but it's going to be a lot more difficult now.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to build siege first in order to push this one back and eventually get that castle down. And in fact, that castle might just die before he's able to secure that position and get it working for him. But he does clear up the first castle on the southern side of the map, and now he's looking to push on to the second one. So we've kind of flipped the script. One player now with the army advantage on the top, whereas before they had it on the bottom. Hera still working primarily with Hussar and Monks and Trebs.
45 elite organ guns with Arquebus versus 43 Hussar, but you can see the production on the Hussar. Once you clear up one wave, the next one's going to immediately follow. But finally, critically, Viper has some siege, so he can actually make a real push in the south. And he actually deleted the castle.
He was about to lose it anyway.
It was at 96%.
Yeah, but it was at like 500
Okay,
HP.
okay.
It was getting actively trapped. So I think he realized at this point I save 50 stone.
I don't
or
know.
Whatever
I don't know if I
Maybe
could
not even
ever
50.
bring myself to do that. You know, just let it go down.
Yeah.
Just let it go down.
I think one of the important things here, right, is that Viper is a lot closer to pushing important parts of Hera's economy and base, right, because of the distance between the two sides. And ultimately, now that he's got his bigger mass and more of his siege on the south, yes, Hera might be able to get something done up here in the north, but really all he's threatening is a wood line in the end. We do have a big dive, though, with near 40 Hussar coming in to clean up the organ guns and the Treb coming forward to start to work away on the castle. Viper trying to get the snipe on that Trebuchet and might just barely with a final hit that Cavalier, the hero of the day here for the Portuguese. Blast Furnace on the way, Masonry on the way here for both players. I think they're trying to lock in for a long one. It's going to become a game about maneuvering around the map, the proper dedication of resources and army to both sides of the map so that you don't lose too quick on one side while you look for the push and the advantage on the other.
So Hera's whole strategy here is just, I have the better farming eco. I'm going to sacrifice units over and over and over again. I'm going to push you back with like human wave tactics.
Viper doesn't have gold. Oh, there we go.
He's got plenty of gold access. If he's not taking it, that's his problem. But Viper, if he ever gets into the farming eco from Hera, he's going to disrupt that production, right? So if Viper's push in the south works and he gets in there, Hera's going to have some problems. But still, Hera's keeping him very, very busy as Viper now snipes another Treb. The gold that Viper has access to is south, and there's no castle on top of that. So maybe that's why he didn't have any on currently.
Yeah, actually, that's his only gold position.
I think there might be one near one of those other castles. I don't know. If that's his only one left, he's been absolutely chewing.
He does have 4
through
relics.
The rest of the gold, yeah. And he has the option to make Fetorias if he wants to, although population space is very valuable.
Let the raiding begin, though. This is Hera's comfort zone, playing with Hussar, looking for raids, keeping his opponent in the constant responsive state, right?
Nice
Another
raids.
good raid, though, on the other side here
nice
from
raids.
the Viper. Finds the goal position of Hera. We'll get some
he's
Bill
sneaking.
snipes.
He's sneaking around in between that castle and the woodline. He can slowly sneak
Hussar
through the middle.
rolling in. Looking for the cleanup here on the Trebuchet. The repairs are coming through for the time being, but as Viper has a lack of gold, perhaps, it's Hera who's got a lack of stone income. He does have 450 in the bank, so he can sustain repairs for a little while. Big numbers of Hussar looking to swoop in on top of the elite organ guns. The Monks trying their best to find some conversions as well. We retreat underneath the castle fire for safety, but in the end, the Trebuchet and the siege will go down. It's a bit of a reset fight here. Hera happy as ever to throw away food units in favor of gold units.
Incredible monk micro there from Hera. Incredible monk micro. To push forward with like that while you're still busy with the army in your base that I think is currently disrupting his farming eco. Viper went through, and Hera's only got 56 on food now, so a few idols maybe he has to allocate some Hussar to come back and deal with that. Still can't push the castle, but great conversions from Hera on the organ guns won him that fight in the south.
And so interestingly, right, we've completely forgotten about the center of the map. I mean, this just speaks to
Gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, the
Gentleman's
chaos and
agreement.
the chaos of the game,
Yeah.
right? Where you just can't focus everywhere at once. So at some point, yeah, you have to handshake and say, you know what, we both got our stone walls up here. Let's just forget about the middle. Let's play around the sides. Let's play around the more important resources.
So,
we've got barracks coming up now for Viper.
Viper is now just teching in to help. So he had lots of floating resources before. He felt like he could just go for gold units. He's realizing he's kind of out of gold, so he's dropping the barracks. He realizes this is the point in the game
using the market.
Where he can go help, yeah, and he's going to be able to afford the techs at least. It's just whether the timing is too late. You might have made an argument for Halb organ gun earlier rather than the organ gun light cav, but the light cav at least gave you rating potential and potential to snipe the trebs. So I think there's an argument for both.
Right. And as well the monks, right? You were kind of worried about the monks and the conversions. There he goes, using those light cav to great effect just to buy himself some time while he's trying to make the tech switch, right? But we still have a bombard cannon that's slowly working away on this castle. No repairs coming through here from the Viper yet. So wondering if he's willing to give up this position. I would hope not, as he ultimately still needs to be able to push forward here on the southern side. That's where he's setting up his production. And on the top side, more Hussar raids come in. The pikemen finally are revealed here to Hera. They will do much better once we get those final couple upgrades coming in. Halberdier 10 seconds away from completing. Still one more armor upgrade to come.
Geez, the Hussar spam from Hera is just insane. And now Shatagni comes in. He's got plenty of gold access, so he's going to go hand cannons now. Viper started off with the gunpowder. Hera's going to finish it with the gunpowder. He's getting the final armor upgrade. Still has insane food eco, 62 on food, 36 on gold versus the 9 from the Viper, as Halb is going to be fully teched into, and 29 of them on the field, but the hand cannon switch from Hera will somewhat neutralize the halberdiers from Viper.
Yeah, hand cannon switch is solid, but he still doesn't have the numbers just yet to be used in the current fight, so the halberdier are going to start chewing up those Hussar. Of course, great conversions still coming through from the block printing monks, means that the numbers of elite organ guns are pretty low, and they're split half and half between each side of the map. A new castle coming up here for the Viper to protect his only remaining gold position.
What were we saying about quick games in this set? I think we were wrong. I mean, this one's over an hour already.
This one's as long as the first two
and this
combined.
is the closest. This is like the longest enclosed I've seen in a while, and it's the closest generation.
Right. Yeah, for what could have been a super aggressive and potentially fast game, both players have managed to find a way to extend it and get us into that post-Imperial game state where all the techs are in. Pretty much every tool in the toolkit of each civ is at their disposal, and now it's just about making, strategically the right decisions and then tactically employing those decisions to great effect.
All right, so Hera pushing again in the north, and Viper just doesn't have the light cav or cavalier to fight that back. Viper's at 175 population versus max pop Hera. Just a few units in the queue there for Hera, as he has the Hussar, Monk, hand cannon, bombard cannon, organ gun, 4 Treb composition, which seems to be absolutely insane against Viper. I love how he saved the organ guns. Those could have high value against the halberdiers pushing in.
Yeah, gunpowder to go with his own gunpowder. We have some more light cav coming forward here from the Viper, but they're going to get eaten up mighty quick. A couple of Cavalier. Now the convert. That was the fastest conversion I've ever seen. It might have been a switch from a different unit there, and great job by Hera to take high-value targets with those conversions.
Viper clears this up,
still
though.
a good number of halberdier. That hole is coming back to bite the Viper yet again in the eco in the center of the map.
Yeah, Hera's streaming in Hussars there. He's taking out the castle in the north as well, and these organ guns just pushing forward. 7 range against 9 from the Hindustani hand cannons with Shatagni in, so those hand cannons can snipe the organ guns.
How much damage does a hand cannon do to an organ gun, though? Is it?
I think it's solid. Like, the organ gun has 6 pierce armor, right? The hand cannon's doing 17 damage, so it's 11 damage per hit.
Now, honestly, more than I would have expected. And so perhaps if the numbers get high enough, we see him at 18, we see 13 in the queue there, 40 Hussar in the queue there from Hera, still coming out of 10, 11, 12 stables, if I'm counting that correctly. The production has been so clean from him. We do see the villager count plummeting from what? Up 130, 140 for the Viper, down to 109, still not reacting to the Hussar raids on the wood line. It's starting to look a little scary for the Snake, running out of gold options as soon as that one final pile is depleted. He does have 25 saturation on it, no wood.
If you want to add Fatorias, now is the time, right? But it's a big investment. It's a really big investment. You kind of want to put all your resources in the military to hold or potentially push. You're hoping that Hera's going to run out of gold. That's not happening with Hera at 2,500 currently. I mean, even with the relics, Hera's buying wood.
Buying wood, but it's starting to feel like Viper's getting outproduced. He's getting outproduced, and he's got no resources in the bank.
Hera just bought 1,200 wood? All right, Viper, sell! Sell!
There's no wood
He
to
doesn't
sell.
have any
That's
wood
the
to
problem.
sell, yeah, because his wood line is being raided by Hussars. He finally clears it up.
He's never found that
106
hole,
mills for
and
him.
now it doesn't even matter because the houses have been broken, and Hera has two ways into the farming eco and the wood lines. It's looking scary here for the Viper. Now we got villagers rolling forward. You can tell the intensity of the moment has maybe resulted in a misclick or a misplaced gather points.
Yep.
So 6 more villagers go down just as Viper's trying to boost his economy back up. The raids continue. The Hussar being used just so effectively while the gunpowder unit numbers climb here for Hera. He just needs a few more trebuchets to come forward, and then he can start really putting the pressure here on the Viper.
I think this should be game for Hera. I mean, if Viper couldn't break him earlier, how is he going to break him now? It's classic Viper. He's still, banking up gold. He's not using it. He's trying to greed it out as long as possible. But Hera has an open window in the north with that castle gone to come in and raid. We've seen it on the woodline. He keeps coming in through the center. He's pushing in the south. And Viper doesn't have anything to really stop him long term.
Yeah, I think the Viper might be kicking himself for not making the Halberdier switch a little sooner, quite possibly. But outside of that, I just think it's been incredible recovery here from Hera, incredible unit control from Hera, using the monks ever so effectively, using the Hussar perfectly to raid and keep his opponent distracted while he built up that villager lead behind, placed perfect defensive castles as well. And now, like you say, with everything available to them here in the late game, it is the Hindustani player that could use the range of the gunpowder so effectively to protect his units while continuing to raid with the Hussar.
Yeah, Cavalier coming in for Viper. That's like the remainder of his gold.
Yeah.
Being teched into Cavalier. He's going to try and push this back. He's got the 26 organ guns. He had 50 organ guns at one point, though. And that didn't work against just Hussars. He's trying to save the castle. He's not repairing it.
Oh,
Treb will go down, but the next one will finish off the castle. Only 22 HP left on that before it died. And Viper loses yet another defensive building in the north, and that just opens everything up for Hera to raid. He was getting the raids in anyway, but they're going to come fast and furious here as he pushes with the composition in the south. The Viper can't stop, and the gold for Viper, finally, I think has been mined out. There's one little tile left.
I think that castle falling is the death knell of the game here for the Viper. Not much left in terms of options. He's about to be pushed off of his only remaining gold pile. No stone as well in terms of income. So at this point, it would be trash units and nothing else here against a very formidable army from Hera. It is 60 military apiece, and maybe that's why the Viper is ultimately trying to hold on, still producing some villagers to get that count back up, but for the first time in a long time, down behind, underneath the 100 mark, and still not near a pop cap overall. 149 to his name, to the 180, and climbing here of Hera. 66 Hussar in the queue.
Yeah, he's
66.
sending the boys and the girls now into the gunpowder from Hera. I mean, I think he needs a moment where he's not microing his army like right now to realize that his villager count is very low. His gold count is at 0. He's still pushing an army, but Hera still has the hand cannons alive, and here comes another wave of Hussar. 100 on food for Hera. Res collected, almost 10k ahead there for Hera, and the Hussar just won't stop coming.
The only thing I can think of for the Viper in terms of staying in it is the 4 relics,
The
right?
4 relics,
You just don't know how much gold is available left to Hera,
And, I
right?
mean,
you haven't been inside his base to do the scouting.
Still
and
though,
see.
like, has he really been using the gold other than the hand cannons recently?
No, not so much, right? But, like, I mean, you're looking at, okay, if I have 19 Oregon guns and we get to a position where the gold is entirely depleted on the map, we're back to just Hussar, right?
Yeah.
And without hand cannons here for Hera, without monks here for Hera, maybe I can get back into the game. Again, it's a long shot. You're playing for another 20, 30 minutes or
Yep.
so till we get to that point. These are good raids to find in the back
nice
of the space, and a
walls from
great
Viper,
wall
too.
here from the Viper. Oh, but unfortunately, there are still holes to be found if Hera chooses to take those opportunities. Tons of Hussar streaming through. The space is constricting here for the Viper overall, and this castle alone might be the cue to resign the game if and when it goes down to the trebuchet fire that Hera has brought to bear.
I mean, that raid is something that Viper probably should have had, 20 minutes ago, and then Hera would have had some problems keeping the Hussar coming out. But, I mean, the Cavalier are getting the job done at the back, killing villagers. The Hussar are allocated to go take them, and now the castle goes down, and Viper just calls the GG. What a performance there from Hera to just beat out organ guns with Hussar, wave after wave after wave. And, I mean, you think about the early stage of that game. It was insane what Hera was able to do with the pressure, even being behind to Castle Age as far as he was. The Feudal Age pressure for him under that tower, Viper holding on, even behind by 20, 25 villagers, Hera managed to come back.
Yeah, no, absolutely incredible. It looked, at least to our eyes, pretty desperate after that Feudal Age fight, where he invested so many resources into upgrades for the scouts, dove underneath the tower, only managed to pick off 3 vills. While yes, he had a small military advantage, the Viper looked like he was maybe off to the races and could, with his better timing to the castle and Imperial Age, ultimately take it. But Hera, time and time again, making the Hussar look like just the most overpowered unit in the game of Age of Empires.
Making farms look overpowered.
That as well, man.
Yep.
That as well. He'll never be the second one to 100 farms, it feels like.
Yeah, he's going to be the only one to 100 farms. That was really, really well played there from Hera. Great map generation too for enclosed.
Oh, I loved it.
I'm just stunned that we had that map generation and then it went like an hour and 20 minutes.
We wanted 5 games.
Yep.
We were delivered 5 games.
We're going to get 5 games.
We're going to
There's
get
one
5
more.
games, and guess what? It's going to be Arabia. No surprises there. Of course, there are 2 civs available for each player. We think we know where they're going to go. Always up to be thrown a curveball, though. We're going to go to one last commercial break before we return for the deciding game in this set between Hera and Viper. Stay tuned.
And now, a word from our partners.
Have you heard of the 21st century?
Why settle for clacks, clunks and jams? Say goodbye to sticking keys. And welcome to the ultra-responsive quiet precision of the U-Rage Exodus 760 mechanical keyboard. With our Temu red switches for ultra-silent key presses, anti-ghosting with N-key rollover, and 1 millisecond response time, this keyboard will keep up with your fastest moves. Whether you're gaming or working, you'll enjoy precise control at the speed of light. Get yours on Mueller.de. In case you rage, we do not cover costs for damaged screens or unfinished castles.
Welcome back to the Noble Apartment Cup for the deciding map between the Viper and Hera here, all tied up at 2 and 2. We are going to Arabia, but I'd like to pull up the Civ draft here just so we can take stock of the entire set so far. Kind of, remember how we got here and what lies ahead of us.
Viper's got Incas, if I remember.
Got Incas.
He's also got Dravidians.
Oh, no, it's not. I don't even just,
God.
As quickly as
And
you
then
said that, get that out of your mouth.
It's Berbers for Hera and Mayans.
Yeah, and we're thinking you don't want Mayans and Incas.
Yeah. Mayans versus Incas is a bit of a rough combo. You can still make it work, but the slingers make things difficult in the Castle Age. Maybe you want to finish it in the Feudal Age if you can. So Berbers could be an option. I mean, I think it's a slightly better matchup against Incas.
Yeah, but also, that's tough though too, because you're playing generally a Cav Civ into someone who could build like Kamyuks in the late game, which feels really good.
I don't really like Dravidians against Berbers or Mayans, so
yeah, I swear to God, if he picks Dravidians, I'm gonna have a word with him later. But who knows? Maybe the Viper knows something we don't. We do know that it's a favorite Civ of his and a majority of the GL guys. But as we said, it's not up to us what the players play. If we did, it would be a very different looking tournament, I'll tell you that much.
Both of these guys, by the way, yesterday played a Game 5 on Arabia. So they have another Game 5 here on Arabia again. And Hera's been kind of matching up against some really good opponents lately. He's accumulating some losses. He took a loss against Vinci. He didn't have any losses coming into that. Took 2 against Leary. Now he's taken 2 against Viper. So the plus-minus looking a little bit more even. Yeah. A little bit less skewed than it did coming in to the last or after the first couple days.
Well, to me, that speaks to the overall level of the players in the tournament, and that a number of people are playing in top form. And it also so very much excites me for the playoff bracket, right? Because it doesn't necessarily feel like anything's a certainty, right? I think in tournaments of past, both of these guys very familiar with being, picked or plucked as, oh, they're going to the finals no matter what. And I don't think that, again, while they might still be favored in a number of situations, it's definitely not a certainty that either of these players would even make it to the finals.
Now, Viper and Hera getting ready. They should be getting into the game really, really soon. Just getting the lobby set up.
Get those final sips of water, grab a breath of fresh air, maybe hit the restroom just because, we might be locking in for another 2 hours.
They know what to do here. It's Arabia. It's Arabia. Like, it's 9-vil start, sure, but they practice it plenty of times. They know the Civ matchups inside and out on this map. I don't think there's going to be any surprises. It's just about, picking the right strategy and then executing.
Gamerlegion teammates, one sporting the jersey, the other one sporting the shirt. By the way, if you haven't yet, make sure you check out the Gamerlegion shop. They put on an incredible tournament
for us so far. Their new merch line is so clean.
It's so good.
You can see it.
I'm going home with so much. However much more I can fit in my suitcase, it's getting packed with.
Did you get a sweater?
Not yet,
because that's like my cold weather sweater.
I've been jealous watching you walk around in that thing. It looks so clean. And so I'm hoping to get one myself. But first, we're going to be treated to a Game 5 here between the Viper and Hera. You can see the Viper in the red, Hera in the blue, and it's Incas versus Mayans.
Incas versus Mayans. Okay, so he didn't like the idea of the Berbers. He didn't like it. He's going to go for the Mayans. Like I said, Incas is theoretically a bit of a rough matchup because they have the slingers. It kind of pushes you away from the Eagles. But on a map like Arabia, it's so open that you can maybe even use the mobility even with the slingers on the board, or maybe you just want to play into archers and you feel like your early game is going to be better. I love the fact that with this tense situation, we still have the calming sounds of the Noble Apartment Cup music in the background.
Perfect for the Dark Age.
It's perfect.
Perfect for the Dark Age. We don't expect any shenanigans here early in the Dark Age, as both players are looking for the scouting information, bringing those pigs and sheeps back in, pushing their deer, eventually going to go out and look to see what their opponents are building into. Of course, as we are in that Mezzo matchup, we're not going to have any scout play or anything like that. So it's a little bit more known, perhaps, how we're going to be approaching from the early portions.
Like, starting gold for Viper is great at the back. Gold for Hera is kind of close to the TC. It's still okay, but the secondary golds for both of them are kind of a nightmare. There's those 2 for Hera, which are slightly closer than the 2 for Viper, which are immediately in the center of the
horrible,
map.
Man.
Yeah.
Both on the bottom of a hill, right and on the other side of a wood line.
But it's kind of cool because they're bad for both, but that stone is really rough for Viper. The stone in the back for Hera is quite nice, and the wood line in the back for Hera as well. The wood line for Viper is a little forward.
It's a little forward. Options. He's got other options. I would say I like Viper's map for the Feudal Age because the berries and the gold are protected. Beyond that, expanding gets a lot more difficult. Getting to that stone, securing the extra golds, that's where I think if Hera can weather maybe a storm on his initial gold position, once he gets to the second and third TC, maybe things get a little easier for him.
Hera's up quick. Hera is up quick here. And Viper is going for the 2 militia, potentially Drush into Feudal Age Rush, the French Drush, potentially, as we see them coming forward, and Loom is now coming in, so a fast uptime behind that. He's going to try and disrupt Hera however he can. Now shifting out for a second lumber camp on the other wood line, so he wants to diversify a little bit. And hopefully Viper doesn't just run into the TC. Hopefully he knows exactly where the gold is. He's going to find it. Hera's going to go for the quick wall, though. No panic here from the Canadian, as he's perfectly capable of dealing with a two militia
panic
crush.
and the pre-walling on the wood line. Not a single point of damage going to be found here. Of course, you are forcing the walls. Forcing the idle time.
You're not expecting to kill a villager.
No,
with these two militia. You're never expecting. If you do get one, that's great, but that's not the purpose of this. The purpose is to force walls, force investment, and then force the initial archers or whatever is coming over to your side from Hera back into his own base, because he wants to clear up the annoyance that is those two militia.
Yep, so barracks just now completed as the feudal age is reached. Actually, not even completed just yet. This is looking to be a snipe or... okay, we get away with it just at the end. Luckily, he had that second Vil working on the barracks, so it wouldn't be denied. We do have now a very safe archery range coming up here from Hera. That's not going to surprise the Viper, as he had that Vil on gold for some time. The Loom is coming in. We got double bid axe, 30 seconds away from the feudal age here from the Viper himself.
I just assumed that, like, 9 Vil start, right? I just assume Mayans have Loom. I think you always do. You assume the Mayans have Loom. They have the extra villager there, so normally they're housed at the beginning, but with 9 Vil start, Hera even goes up without Loom, and the Drush from Viper could have gotten a ton of damage if he hadn't walled, which he did in timely fashion. So great job there from Hera. Double bid axe now on the way from Viper. An additional eagle as well, and it's got to be an archer range as Hera tries to trap in this two militia Drush from Viper, which is still holding him off the berries. It's still being kind of annoying in the back of his base.
Yeah, this is about as effective as you could hope this Drush to be. It's just forced a lot of responses here out of Hera, just now moving to the berries himself. But now we've matched archery range for archery range, and skirm production is underway.
Okay, Archer's pushing that away. Viper wants to save those. I don't know how much value they're going to continue to have. I would rather push the Archers into the back of Hera's base and just sacrifice the two militia there, but Viper brings them back. He's got skirmishers as well. Third Eagle on the way, and maybe he just wanted to pull this Archer out of position, because it certainly is, as Hera is getting fletching, and Viper's got two Eagles running down that Archer in the center of the map. Hera joins with a second one. He's got to retreat with that, though, because there is a skirm there from Viper as well.
Yeah, so Eagle skirm on one side, Eagle Archer technically on the other side, although I don't think we're going to see a ton of Eagle production while also trying to produce Archers. That would be a big gold investment from Hera there. But the micro's been there, keeping those Archers alive. You can see the health dwindling on the Eagles and maybe one going down. Yep, there it goes there for the Viper. So he's going to have to turn around and run. Skirm's not really able to stack up against the Eagles too effectively.
Yeah, we talked about the good Civ matchup. Most of that happens in the Castle Age, right? And you got to get through Feudal first. So it's got to be a lot of army here for Viper. Hera's trying to do damage early because he feels like he kind of needs to and hold the map position with his archers. Viper, though, good setup at home. Hera, good setup at home. He's going for the walls once again. Viper a little bit more casual with his base setup because he's been forward so often. And he feels like Eagle Skirm is enough to keep this army away from his base.
Yeah, fletching just completed for him, so now he's got that extended range, a little bit more power in each of the skirmishers' javelin tosses. Trying his best to keep the Eagle numbers up as well, because that's going to help him play the front line and not let those skirms get dove on, and once again paying attention to the gold. I mean, I think that this position right here is going to be crucial through the Feudal Age.
Yeah.
Hera's going to need to maintain control, and Viper's trying to push him off.
And so much patience here from Hera. I think all the top guys against a raid like this will just position their army behind, take damage on the Vils. They don't care. They're not going to pull it away. They're not going to overreact. Hera will keep that gold coming in, and he tries to angle around on Viper, as Viper is now getting the infantry armor upgrade. Hera is about 30 seconds later to that, so Viper might choose to take this engagement if Hera's archers are out of position. I don't think he can just dive into it, though. He's got to be really careful.
The Eagles got separated there for a moment, so the skirms thought perhaps this is our moment to jump, but the hill control here from Hera is fabulous, and it's going to give him a small advantage, and he's just got to make sure got to keep those Eagles.
Great micro from both. Really, really solid from both. They're picking away. They're trying to get damage wherever they can. Hera's trying to hold the hill. Viper's trying to take it from him. He's trying to get alone with those archers with his skirmishers. Still no armor on the skirms. He went for the armor on the Eagles instead. And at the end of the day, I think it's one dead unit from Hera.
Two.
Two dead units from
two.
Hera.
They're right on top of each other, but he did manage to snag 2 of those archers. That only evens the KD overall, and now even a forging investment here from Hera. This could be the surprise
Second
he's
barracks,
looking
too.
for.
Yep.
Second
2
barracks.
Eagles for both.
That's big production for both of these players. Now, of course, overall, the archers are going to do a much better job against the Eagles than the skirmishers do. The skirmishers doing a better job against the archers in the end. So where is the micro? Using that militia to buy a little time, trying to retreat back to a hill of his own.
Position for Viper, I think. He's got to go around the production buildings. He tries to get alone.
Forging's in.
Tries to get alone with the archers again. Forging is in for Hera, but he's outnumbered in terms of the Eagle mass. However, there are no more skirmishers to deal with the archers as Viper pushes out here. He's chasing those archers. He's trying to clear them up. He's got good upgrades, but doesn't have the numbers of Eagles as he only has 4 and Hera has 5, plus the 8 archers behind them. This is a much better position for Hera. Resources for Viper looking fairly similar, but Hera's knocking at the door to his base, and he didn't wall earlier.
Yeah, this is looking bad here for the Viper. We talked about it's a good Civ matchup for the Incas in the long run, so therefore Hera needs to maybe do something nice and early, and he's looking to do exactly that. The walls don't come up. He's now onto the gold position of the Viper.
He already sold his stone too. He sold his stone earlier at the market. He sold it. He can't go for a tower here to defend his gold. The Eagles push in. Some of those archers are weak. Viper is pushing back with villagers. He needs to. He just needs to force this army away from his gold and somehow get up to the castle age. But the Eagles keep coming from Hera. The archers are there, and amazing pressure on the gold of Viper.
Yeah, first Vil kill of the game is found as he ejects that skirmisher. It'll quickly go down. More Eagles on the way here for the Viper, but he's running low on resources as he clicks up to the Castle Age. Yes, a small Vil advantage, but Wheelbarrow just about to complete here from Hera. Hera committing a bit more to the Feudal Age as we would have expected him to do. His archer numbers look good here, up to 9, and now crucially taking this hill, forcing more house walls to come up from the Viper. Thinking about maybe diving through. We've seen Hera do this before.
Yep.
Underneath the TC, and he'll definitely consider it. He'll just take the safer path this time around to go back to the gold, threaten Viper, require him to
Remember
dodge
where
away.
Viper's other golds are. Look
They're
at where
so
he's
bad.
going.
They're
Look at
so
where he's
bad.
going. He's going to the front side of the base. I wonder if Hera actually knows where that other... Oh, he just
does see it.
catches one little tile of it. And he knows if Viper is going Eagles with this Castle Age time, he's going to be on gold somewhere. He's not on the gold at the back. So Hera might shift back out towards the front, or he might choose to just keep harassing the farms. Either way, it's going to be incredibly difficult for Viper to deal with the crossbow-eagle combination. He'll need to try and clear these archers somehow before Hera gets Castle Age, but I don't think that's a possibility.
I think that's difficult, right? Of course, the Eagles do become immediately more powerful upon reaching the Castle Age, right? Getting a little bit more attack, but they're not any more
powerful
defensive.
enough. Look at how many Eagles Hera has in front. Like, even if they're only Eagle Scouts, it's going to be really, really difficult for him. And Hera is stonewalling at home. Is he stonewalling? It's a smart play. No, it's palisade walls. Okay.
Well,
they
either
look
way.
big on the mini-map.
Yeah.
They look big.
Either way, still a good play, right? He's taking this opportunity where he's got all of the pressure on the other side of the map to protect himself at home. These are good house walls here from the Viper, at least to buy himself more time on the golds. But as he walls in his own wood line, the walls aren't completed yet. Now he's got to run with villagers. He didn't have the wood to complete the walls. He's actually out of wood, and now the archers are in. This could be disastrous. How many vills go down on the retreat?
That's one. Remember, the villagers now benefit from the +1 armor now that he's in Castle Age, and the +2 is on the way. It's only one villager going down from Viper. So Viper, after all of this pressure, has lost 2 vills somehow, some way. He's got 10 Eagles with the +2 armor coming in. They've got the Castle Age upgrade, but I mean, Hera still has an insane amount of military, and he's about to hit Castle Age himself.
Yeah, and quite interestingly, he's
GG.
going to tap out.
GG.
Just like
Hera
that.
wins 3-2 against the Viper. An amazing series. They end that one. Teammates, but this time Hera comes out on top. Viper got off to good starts in lots of those games, but Hera managed to finish it off.
That's how it had to happen. That's how it had to happen, right? We talked about the Civ matchup, and it's very clear that Hera understood that going in. And so he played exactly to his win conditions. Viper trying to accelerate himself to the Castle Age, get away with a little bit of something, but knowing that if he could get there, weather the storm for just a little bit longer, maybe he would ultimately be able to flip the script and turn it on to Hera. But Hera will exit the group stage in undefeated fashion when it comes to set wins at 5-0.
Think about the games we had there. I mean, Viper with the early pressure there on Citadel. Then we went on to, I can't even remember now. We went on somewhere, Tiar Garden.
Yep.
As well, where
Viper won.
Viper won. That was game 3.
Yeah, that was game 3. So
what was
were we
game
missing?
2? Enclosed was amazing.
Enclosed was game 4 and amazing. We're missing the home map here from, High Tide.
High Tide.
High Tide.
There we go.
It was Persians versus Huns.
Once again, Viper had good pressure.
Yeah.
And Hera managed to weather the storm. So that seems to be the theme here. Like Viper aggressive early, and then he kind of falls back a little bit as Hera is booming and then manages to bring it back.
Well, and you know what? This is where I'd say I think everyone at this tournament, caster and player alike, is fairly aligned on at least how they feel you need to play to beat Hera, which, as we've said, is make him uncomfortable.
Yes, early.
Right? Early. Yeah. And so you have to bring the fight to him, and even if that isn't the way that we would normally talk about Viper playing stylistically, he recognizes that in this matchup, he can't necessarily fall back on what he's used to. So
still, I mean, a lot of people thought Hera would come into this tournament and just crush everybody. We've had 2 straight game 5s against Leary and Viper, and they were really, really close series. So
bench Viper and Leary.
Yeah, right? I'm hoping we can keep this energy into the semifinals, which Hera has already booked a ticket to. And I'm hoping we can just have close set after close set. I can see Hera, another tiring set, it looks like.
I'm certain of it.
Over there.
I'm certain
He's smiling,
of it.
Yeah.
And I'm about to deliver him a tiring interview. No. I'm very actually curious to hear about his overall take on the group stage, that competitiveness of the tournament so far. So we're going to throw you just the shortest break while I head over and get into position to talk to the man himself. We'll see you over there.
And now, a word from our partners. The rise of modern technology takes its toll on all of us. Hours and hours at your desk leads to stiff necks, aching shoulders, sore lower backs. But there is a solution. Back Force. The Back Force 1 Plus doesn't just stand like a rock on the digital battlefield, it transforms the way you sit. With Gamer Pulse LED lighting lasting up to 20 hours, this chair is more than just a seat. It's a throne. Personalize it with patches for your nickname, clan tag, or any custom text. Because your chair should be as unique as you are. Every Backforce chair comes in a wide variation in colors, including this noble white and gold or black and gold colorway, and the Gamerlegion Special Edition. Sit like a king with Backforce.
Welcome back to the Noble Apartment Cup and the Backforce interview area, where our undefeated group stage player in Hera has taken his seat, securing the bye to the semifinals. That was up in the air. However, winning one game ultimately had secured it for you midway through the series. But before we even talk about the series, I want to talk to you about the level of competition at the tournament in general, because no secret, you've been on a tear, calling it the era of Hera at this point, right? And there's a big target on your back. Do you feel like through the group stage that this is maybe the most challenged you've been in recent history?
I think the set against Viper and the set against Leary were super competitive. Like that came down to one game, maybe even like half a game, like 1-2 mistakes. The set against Leary was probably one of the highest levels I played recently. The set against Viper, I feel like it was good, still like really, really high. I just feel like I played a little bit sloppier. Like things just went wrong that don't usually go wrong. But nonetheless, I think those two for sure are my biggest competition going into the later stages. But other players as well, like they're fighting for their lives, so they're gonna get a new hope as they go into the knockout stage as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Any player who has played you, obviously happy to receive one more point to their book holes here at the end of the group stage. Let's now talk about the series, because we did go all the way to a Game 5. We kicked things up, or actually even before we talk about Citadel, and I'm sure the replays will come up in just a moment. Stylistically, I've been very curious about the way that certain players have approached you. You even cited the series against Leary. Dave and I were joking. Actually, if you replayed both those series but removed the names, I probably would have said that yesterday yesterday's series looked more like a Viper versus Hera matchup with the length of the games. And today, at times, it looked a little bit more like a Leary who is testing you with some aggression. So was that your expectation in the way that Viper would ultimately approach you today?
I mean, that's a really interesting thing to think about. I feel like the maps, like as soon as one guy does something weird, the whole game is weird. So that's kind of what was happening. Like in the first game on Citadel, I mean, we don't have to go through it right now, but one weird thing happened. Like he killed my villain. I forgot to take my boar, and from there the whole game was weird. I had to do something weird, continue mixing it up, or else I die.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of degenerates the game to just a ton of fighting and a ton of raiding. And honestly, it's more exciting that way, if you ask me. But it's also harder to control it. So definitely today felt more like me against Leary. But the reality of it is, it's just like weird things were happening, and we had to continue with the flow of the game.
Yeah, I think when it comes to trying to find weaknesses in your game, at least it feels impossible from the outside. But away we go into some of those replays. As you mentioned, this was wonky from the start. And I wonder how you, as a player, maybe even removed from this game, kind of look back and evaluate your own gameplay. Like when you're trying to look for learnings, is this a game, though, that you can pretty easily chalk up to, like, these couple crucial things go wrong early, there's actually maybe not that much for me to learn? Or how do you ultimately, when you're at the peak of your game, look for ways to improve?
I think it's usually situational things. Like, I don't think I can get better in the sense of like I have to play 100 games so I can actually get better at the game. It's more like, okay, I made a few crucial mistakes here. I have to fix them or I have to keep them in mind for the future. And for example, in this game, I messed up my Dark Age, so next time I'm going to be hyper-focused on that.
Right. Okay, yeah. Again, I'm not going to focus too much on anything individual that we see in this game because, again, I think it largely was predicated on that. But again, taking an early loss in a series, also something that, again, you're not super familiar with, at least of late. And so for you mentally, is there just what's your process in taking a loss and moving on to the next one?
So if I lose because I got outplayed, no problem with that whatsoever. I actually really enjoy that because I get to learn from it. If I lose because of my own sloppiness, that's when I get a bit frustrated. That was a bit of both. I think he played really well. Like, despite the early game that went wrong, he also played really well.
So from there we go to High Tide. This one is where I really like to start the discussion because it felt like this was the moment where Viper made a very distinct decision, right? To commit the crossbows to killing villagers. He ends up sniping 9 of your villagers. You clean up the army. I think for a lot of players, this is where, at least at a lower level, right, I'd sit here and go, this is a terrifying position to be in. But you have the military advantage. And from there, walk me through like the next 2 to 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah, so this is something that I talk about a lot in like YouTube videos when I do like guides and tutorials and whatnot for people to get better, is that if you lose a lot of vills, but he trades his army for it, then you have to attack, because if you don't, then you're going to be behind for nothing, right? The army can be replenished later on. So what I did was I counterattacked and I put a lot of pressure on him to kind of even out the vill count, and I got a lot of value. And then from that point onwards, I had a small lead just because I had like the gold on top, the fish, and I was able to go all in castle. He did the same thing. He read the game very well. But I was just further enough ahead to win the game.
Yeah, there was one moment you were bringing like a group of crossbow skirm down to the south. He had moved those like 5 vills out there for a mill and a dock really early. You just barely missed catching it with a dock. I mean, you still went in for the raid. I think so. If the army was effective in the end, but of course a fun moment. Here we go to Tier Garden. This map, I think, has provided some of the most exciting maps, largely because of the way that players play around the wood line. And so there's always this question of whether or not you're going to invest for the tower, but not just the tower. How are you going to defend the tower against somebody ultimately diving in? And we kind of see that work out to great effect here for the Viper. Is this entire map predicated on woodline control? Because that seems how it's played out a lot.
Yeah, I think so. Like, if you secure a woodline, then you can think of other stuff. But if you don't secure a woodline, the game is unplayable. And that's exactly what happened to me. I think what he did really nicely is that he recognized that even though I have a tower, a lot of players go back. You know, I'll just play it safe. But he recognized I'm actually kind of bluffing that tower. I don't have anything to defend it, and he punished me perfectly. But one thing I want to talk about here, Viper did a really nice thing. He had Portuguese, and really good on this map. He saved them for the last game. So I was kind of tripping when he went Malians. I was like, okay, I have to win this one because Portuguese are coming up.
All right, you beat me to the next question because, no, I was going to ask. I was like, Turks, in a way, was a little bit of a surprise, right? I was kind of like, I was going, well, maybe he's recognizing that a number of games sometimes end on this map with castle placements in the middle, centralized pushes, and then you have the light cav or the hussar for raiding. But at the same time, you're kind of backing yourself into a corner if you need to reach for trash units, and you don't have that at your disposal. And since he goes into Malians, it felt like, maybe the matchup isn't the one you were looking for.
Exactly. Like, I was not supposed to play against a camel sieve. I was supposed to play against a no camel sieve, but yeah, he stayed Portuguese for this game, and
Yo, this map generation? This map generation, I've not seen an enclosed where players start this close on this map.
That's true. Yeah. I didn't even realize that, actually. I would just... I was just attacking because he was right there, but I didn't realize how close we are.
Yeah. We saw this immediately, and we were like, "Oh my god, this should completely change the way that the players approach the game." Just the fact that your wood lines would quickly be chopped through, and you made great use of the opening through the middle for the Hussar raids. But okay, Hindustanis, Portuguese, you went for crazy early feudal game commitment. When you took that fight underneath the watchtower, did you feel like you had done enough damage?
No. I wanted more. I wanted to kill all the crossbows. It was not enough. Actually, I think I should have lost. I think if he just sent like literally 20 vills, put him on the castle and got it up right away, I think it would be really hard to come back.
It definitely felt like...
This prolonged nonsense in his base, basically, shenanigans that I'm pulling, I think that really helped me out.
Okay. Yeah. From there, though, I think, again, what you fell back on, what you're known for best, which is the food economy, right? And then, of course, the Hussars. But it's always consistently amazing to me, your ability to transition from a moment, right, where maybe you are behind, to 3, 4, 5 TCs, drop the farms, and get yourself into a place where you're buying time. Because ultimately, I think in these compositions, until the hand cannons come in, it does feel like you're losing out as long as production is sustained on both sides. And you had to get to that range advantage.
100%. Like the monks were kind of a buffer zone because I couldn't go for hand cannon right away. I couldn't afford it. So the monk was a buffer zone, and then as soon as I got the hand cannon, now my comp is playable again. Without that, like the monks are really not that good when you're on 200 pops. So yeah, as you said, it was just stalling out for it, and luckily I won the late game.
A beautifully fought game. That brings us to Arabia, where once again, I think people are looking at Incas and Mayans and saying there's a place in the game where it turns pretty bad for the Mayans. So was it decided from the beginning for you, like, I'm killing him in feudal, or I'm not killing him at all, or did you feel like you had more options in the late game if it was to go that way?
Well, this matchup, we played something similar. We played Mayans, Aztecs, I think game 7 of Warlords. Me versus Viper, like same game. I don't know if the viewers remember. I don't know if Viper remembers that as well. And in my opinion, like Mayans just always win with Archer and Eagle on 9 Vil start specifically because I'm up 1 Vil perma, and I can skip Bloom and everything. So I think he knew that, so he went for a Drush to try to catch me off guard. But I think it's a lot harder for him to survive the early game, and he did well, to be honest. Like he didn't even like play bad, but my Civ was kind of just a bit better there.
No, not at all. Although he did choose to try and hit the Castle Age, right? I think there was a moment where he's thinking, okay, if I can keep him busy out here on the front of my base, but as is typical of Hera, never second guessing or never, not capitalizing on a moment to dive in and take advantage of some pretty awful gold positions once you force him off the first one. Actually, both of your maps were not the greatest, I'd say, in that one. But the fact that you were able to bring it forward brings you to that so lovely 5-0 position. Now you get your day off. That's solidified. How are you feeling, though, looking ahead towards a 6-person playoff as opposed to an 8-person playoff in the past, where, yes, you still get the bye, but generally looking at the field and what your potential competition will be?
The 6-player cutoff, it makes it so much more competitive here. Like, there's about 4 people that their heads are on the chopping block right now. A few guys are safe, but 4 people fighting for, like, some, a really good spot, and it's 4 big names. So I think that's brutal. It's going to be fun for me as a spectator now, so I can finally just chill and enjoy the games. But definitely going to be very competitive between the rest of the guys.
Yeah, technically, we've still got that 5 players finishing at 2 and 3 scenario alive, which would just be wild. There's the option for Doubt to squeak through in miraculous fashion. I know you were interviewing him separately earlier in the tournament, late nights, going through all the Buchholz situations.
Every night, I come out of my set, I'm playing late. I come out and Doubt's in front of the computer, 3 hours looking at the Buchholz, and he's telling me he sounds a bit crazy, talking really fast.
Just imagine if he spent those 3 hours playing the game.
I know. And after every time he loses, he'd be like, no, it's still possible. Look.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. But you also gotta love a Hera who continues to show himself in top form. So once again, congratulations on your victory, my friend. Enjoy your day off. Enjoy the rest of the games today, and we'll catch you there in the semifinals. We're gonna take a short break. When we come back, we're gearing up for set 2 of the day here on the final day of the group stage of the Noble Apartment Cup. We'll see you soon.